This guy never thought he'd see him here. It must have been 5 years. You could tell from his clothes and his condition that he had just come from battle. A lot of water had passed. He noticed that this kid had grown a lot. And this guy's name is Chaun-yeop. The guy in white robes mentioned that there would be no hot hug. In fact, Chaungyeop doesn't even need one. But they started out very differently. And he remembers that, of course. And he remembers Chaungyeop being noticed back then. He's learned a lot since that day. That kid never seemed to let go of that incident. It's only natural. It's not easy to let go of unpleasant memories. But now it was different. He started to block Chaungyeop's weapon. But at that moment, the guy noticed that Chaungyeop's elastic weapon had restrained his sword. Perhaps the outcome would be different as well. Even if this technique was quite interesting, it wasn't difficult for him to break free from it. But even so, he wasn't going to give up. Chaungyeop couldn't believe that this technique was a sim technique. This guy was able to comprehend it. His opponent's name was Sol-su-bom. He too had changed, and he had to admit it. He had always wanted to fight someone like him. This story started long before he was born. Over the course of 6 sword trials, the Sol family became the most powerful family. Then one cold winter day, a family of beggars left their child at the Salt family's doorstep and disappeared. The baby was picked up by a nanny, and from then on, he lived as a favor in their home. That child was Chaun-yeop. He served them faithfully for almost 10 years. Patience and hard work will change everything. During that time, he learned a few things about the Salt family. For example, contrary to public opinion, the head of the family is a dumb man. Seol Sadok, the head of the family. Every morning at dawn, he practiced his sword technique. It was like the white crane dance. That's what Sadok called it. Chaun-yeop watched it every day, and every day he couldn't get enough of it. It kept seeming to him that the technique was more about defending one's position and allowing one to retreat at any moment. This is one of the techniques where breathing correctly is important. Sadok mentioned that you're a boy, the thing on mistakes nearby when he's practicing. Chaungyeop replied that his technique is so impressive that he's glared. It's unlikely that this guy will understand anything, after all. He's just watching. It's better to talk to him later about what he doesn't like about the technique. He's been developing this technique for decades. But even Chaungyeop, who is a mere servant, can notice the imperfections. An old man approached him and told this little rascal not to distract the head of the family and to come over now. It was Grandpa Huang. No matter how good the family head is, he can't just come here and observe him. Chaungyeop is just a simple servant after all. He can't believe that a person with this kind of skill is among the top 100 martial artists. There's another reason why he thinks this man is a dumbass. His first marriage. He married Min Gayong. It's said that he didn't take care of her well. Chaungyeop has heard a lot of stories. Mrs. Min was very good, but they fought all the time. 10 times out of 10 they couldn't agree on anything. Mrs. Min was very wise and she was respected by everyone. Sadok was jealous of his own wife. That's why he treated her coldly. Sadok transferred that attitude to their children. Until one tragic event happened. Min Gayong died. Because of his infantile behavior, Sadok lost the people closest to him. A person like that can't be the head of a family. That was the backstory. Now Chaungyeop is going to tell his story. Actually, this story isn't just about him. It's also about Seol-su-bum. Chaun-yeop mentioned that the harvest was good today. Suddenly, he grabbed the boy by his clothes. Chaungyeop immediately turned his head back and asked why he was grabbing people by the scruff of the neck. But the boy actually didn't expect the master behind him at all. Chaun-yeop was picked up and made a slave. When he turned 7, he became an errand boy. As a result, he memorized his surroundings well. Chaun-yeop noticed this boy again. Most of the kids of the protagonist's age were orphans, and since they had no money, they stole to survive. And if they were caught, they were just beaten to death. However, Chaungyeop is different. Even without looking around, he could feel 1,000 eyes following his every move. Instinctively, Chaun-yeop began to avoid other people's attention. He knew how to remain unnoticed. Dumplings, rice cakes, and pancakes. All of these effortlessly became his. The kid was helping these orphans. They don't have powers like Chaun-yeop. It actually felt good for him to help someone. That day, it was business as usual. There was no sign of trouble. Well, here he was grabbed by the master who told him to put it back. This was from Mr. Hong's store, and this was from the store at the end of the aisle. And this the boy stole from Mr. Yu's store. Subom asked when it was that he had time to become a thief. Chaun-yeop replied that he didn't understand what the master was saying. But still, he didn't understand how this guy knew he was stealing. He knows exactly where Chaun-yeop got everything from. After all, he didn't even see the master there. The guy kicked him when he noticed that this brat was still daring to lie. Chaungyeop had already pulled this kind of thing off more than 10 times. But how on earth did he fail to notice another watcher? Subom asked if he really wanted to just leave like this. This was the first time Chaungyeop had gotten caught, fearful because of the realization that the master sees and knows everything. It's like God himself. It's a strange animal fear. It was as if he could see right through him. Subam would understand if this guy was stealing to feed himself. But he's being fed, so there's no excuse. It's low because he's not just embarrassing himself. He's dishonoring his family. He should be ashamed. Subam will pay for everything out of his own pocket. Every time Chaungyeop goes out on the town, let him take Subam's wallet with him. Well, if that guy doesn't leave without paying once more, Subam will cut his wrists off. If he does, he'll redeem himself and earn forgiveness. The excitement for stealing was gone. Chaungyeop realized he was wrong. The master immediately guessed where the loot came from. He clearly knows what kind of person is in front of him just by looking at his eyes. The great master, Sol Subam, the most fearsome man he had ever known. But the head of the family did not appreciate the great master's abilities. He was blinded by his love for his second wife. This is another reason why he thinks Sadok is stupid. His new wife is the eldest daughter of the Gansukchu family, Jang Sanmi. She was a smart woman. Jang Sanmi could make people take her side. She also broke up father and son. Well, why did the Grand Master let this happen? He could have prevented all of this. Chaungyeop didn't like this. Although he was only a minor spectator, however, if he was asked to intervene, he would definitely do so. He spotted a Sol Son-hee who was running away, the second daughter of the Sol family. The girl looked around to see if there was anyone here, after which she entered the master's chambers. He didn't understand what San-hai was doing here at all. The room was already being cleaned. In the history of the Salt family, conflicts are as if they are commonplace. Would something really happen between Sanmi and the Great Master? The clumsy San-hee would surely leave a hint of her presence here. And so it happened. He noticed an unlocked locker. It was very interesting to see what she was up to. There was a scroll in there. Now Chaungyeop understood everything. They were going to make a fuss and blame the Grand Master for the land documents going missing. If they succeed, the Grand Master will be kicked out in disgrace. Chaungyeop wondered what he was going to do with all of this. If the documents are found in the Master's room, he will be accused of a serious crime. That's what Chaun Sanmi wants. Although the Master scolded the protagonist, he didn't break his promise and always paid for the orphan's food. At first, Chaungyeop thought he was just trying to clean up the family's reputation and would stop buying food for the children after a couple days. But the Master would sneakily leave him money in the pit in both snow and rain. He keeps his word to every servant, and that's worthy of respect. But that didn't save him from Chaung Sanmi's tricks. How could anyone ever be fooled by a Sol Sanmi? Chaungyeop wondered what would happen to him if the Master left the family. The war between Sanmi and Master might end before it even starts. He must do something about it. For the fight to be more interesting to watch, both sides must be on equal footing. If one of them is too strong, the fight will end quickly. He's only doing this for the spectacle. It's not because he respects the Master, or appreciates his kindness, nor because he cares for orphans. A few days later, Sadok asked that brat Sol Subam if he knew why he was summoned here. I didn't reply that he didn't know. Everyone is here so early today. Let her even try to deny it. The treaty on the lands he recently signed, he's gone. Perhaps the sum knows where it might be. However, he doesn't know that. Sadok started to get angry, not understanding how he dares to lie to him. He'd better tell him where he is right away. Sanmi doesn't know, but he's been frequenting the slum lately. She's just worried that Sumi might have picked up something. Sanmi is just worried. Subam realized that they are just trying to make him look like a thief. Sanmi suddenly remembered something. Yesterday, while cleaning, she noticed something like a scroll in the Master's room. He is being tried to be framed. Subam was holding out like this to keep the promise he made to Granny. But now everything is literally on the line. Even the second daughter of the Sol family is involved. She has a good heart. San-hee just thinks he's fallen under a bad influence. That's a blatant lie. She doesn't even recognize those below her as people. Like father, she doesn't even notice it. Sadok ordered a search of his room. The scroll was found. It was in the Master's room, just like the young lady said. Sadok knew it was so. Even the servants wouldn't like this mess. Once he read the scroll, he didn't understand at all what else it was. It wasn't a treaty, but some kind of drawings. It was only then that Su-sum realized that this white crane technique was actually the white crane technique. It is the work of the boy Chaun-yeop. Subam replied that he hid it in the closet because he was ashamed of his drawing ability. Isn't that forbidden? He looked directly at Chaungyeop. The guy didn't understand at all how he was noticed from there. This master really scares him. Subam asked if this meant that he was now free. Sadok replied that he could indeed go. Sanhee wanted to say something, however she was interrupted by Sanmi. Sanhee said to stop now. That was the end of the incident. He has the contract. Hardly anyone would suspect a mere errand boy. Chaungyeop didn't realize how long he would put up with this. One must be able to defend oneself, right? If you let yourself be pushed around all the time, it would never end. There was a girl behind him who realized that it was him. It was Seol Soo-young, the youngest daughter of the Seol family. Soo-young apologized for possibly scaring him. Chaungyeop wondered why she was awake. It was still too early. Soo-young just thought he was hiding something. Her brother told her how Chaungyeop used to steal food for poor children. She's too perceptive. Stealing was certainly not good, but he was doing a good deed. It made her feel good to know that there were still good people left in this world. Chaungyeop replied that that wasn't true at all. He was just a pathetic thief. Even now, he only helped the master because he was angry at the second daughter of the Salt family. She had beaten him just a while ago. He's not as good as Soo-young might think he is. She only smiled. Soo-young was still grateful to him. He had helped her brother, quite cleverly. Master would never have called him smart. The ability to find something good in a person even though they don't deserve it. A very gentle and sensitive nature. Sanmi is acting wild. Seol Soo-yeon is only held back by her reputation as a good girl. It's good to be a servant because he has nothing to lose. Who cares about family honor and ancestral reputation anyway? What will happen to this sibling if what they are so desperately trying to protect suddenly disappears? It's really upsetting. The news concerned his grandmother. He immediately ran into the room as soon as he heard about it. Granny had indeed died. She claimed that intra-family conflicts would only lead to discord. He should protect his family, after all, he is the eldest son. Granny asked that he promise to do so. Subam apologized to his grandmother. Subam can't look after the family anymore. The funeral was gloomy. Old man Huang offered to leave him behind. Soo-yeon's grief and the young master's suffering. It was very hard to watch, but he can't interfere in it like he did with the document on the ground, only to observe. Even Grandpa Huang was upset. He had a lot of thoughts going through his head. The Salt family was now completely in Sanmi's hands. One would think that now the young master would be made even worse than she was, but what was rather strange was that she just left him alone, as if saving it for later. A month passed. The young master was constantly in thought. Chaungyeop could only guess what they were about. However, he still did not forget to give money for the orphans. This might be the last time. He was about to leave. Suddenly, Subam heard words that he knew the young master would leave again. Sitting in the tree was Chaungyeop. If the young master made such a serious decision, he would definitely need the money. That too. Subam noticed that it was as if this guy knew that he was going to leave. Chaungyeop replied that he was waiting for him, but he really doesn't understand why he's leaving his family. He should behave as befits an eldest son. He's so wise. Why hide his abilities? Granny would really like him to stay. She wouldn't want her son and grandson to feud and her daughter-in-law to turn things around. It was even good that she couldn't see that. But now Grandma was gone. There's no reason to keep her word anymore, but she'll be back. Now that Sanmi's in charge, she'll want to get rid of Subam. And then it'll come to father. He'll come to his senses when it's too late. But he's the eldest son of this family. Subam won't just stand by and watch. He'll come back strong. Actually, Chaun-yeop understood him well. A young master cannot become stronger in the current situation within the family. Subam wondered what he was implying. He was implying that there was nothing to learn here. Take that stupid white crane technique. The fifth stage of the technique is the two-sword style, one to defend and the other to attack. All the support should be transferred to the hips, like this. But the Sol family doesn't accept this stance, thinking it doesn't fit in with the original style. Isn't it the perfect time for Subam to step outside the old traditions and learn something new? This kid does have a point, but still, Subam hoped that he's not trying to discredit the family in his eyes. Of course he isn't, after all, he grew up here. It's just that someone doesn't want to let go of the old. They met now because Chaun-yeop is worried about the young master. He took the scroll and thanked him for it. If he stole anything else, Subam would punish him himself. Subam also knew that Soo-young would be in trouble, so he asked that Chaun-yeop keep an eye on her like he kept an eye on the guy. Subam asked that this guy should not leave her. Chaungyeop should continue to show interest in her like he does now. The main character asked when was it that he said he was interested in Soo-young. Subam asked what he was getting so worked up about. Does he really like her? But it doesn't matter. And with that, Chaungyeop can do whatever he wants. Chaungyeop's disobedience makes him alive. Those were the young master's last words. They said goodbye like brothers. But Chaungyeop didn't realize that until later. It looks like this will be enough. Everyone is waiting, so we can't be late. Time passed quickly, And spring came. With the arrival of spring, it became warmer. Young master had left them less than half a year ago, but Chaungyeop had grown like yeast. Because of this, he began to run more errands. But every time he went out into the city, he made sure that the kids that the master was taking care of were doing well. Fortunately, Soo-young was doing well. Sanmi didn't see her as a threat. The young master must have foreseen their conflict, and that's why he asked Chaungyeop to keep an eye on her. However, the master's abilities were much better than Chaungyeop's. He heard the girls talking about someone from the Yayul family coming here. Chaungyeop placed a basket in front of them, saying that he had returned. The women were surprised that he came back so quickly. The little boy wondered if something had happened. Someone from the Yayul family will be staying with them, so now they need to get everything ready in time. They're important bumps, so they'll probably be picking on everything. But it's weird. The Yayul family has never received this kind of treatment before. The guy behind the protagonist asked Chaungyeop to see how he could. Those guys were told to keep it down. They better buy themselves something tasty. They weren't just told to prepare a meal, but to set a festive table. There seems to be a reason for that. Chaungyeop wondered what they wanted to celebrate. A festive table to celebrate the arrival of a guest. Nothing else usually happened in the village. What on earth is even going on here? Sanmi asked that she accept this. It's a gift for her. The young master to the Yayul family is making a lot of effort to please Soo-young, so it's their turn to take care of people. Sanmi thinks this girl thinks the same way. The head of the family is busy, and the young master left without explaining himself. Now the person in charge of making connections is Soo-young. She really hoped that Soo-young wouldn't let her family down. Soo-young was being quiet. In young master Sanmi's absence, she tried to reduce the risk of external threat. She was even willing to use Soo-young as a tool. There's a lot he doesn't know since he's just an ordinary servant. It seems like there's only one thing left for him to do if Soo-young goes somewhere. Stupid white crane, he needs a bigger technique. He heard painfully familiar voices. What is it with a slave playing with chopsticks instead of working? It was Sol-san high and Sol-san ill. Why did those two come here in the first place? Sang-il asked that asshole what he was doing. Chaun-yeop replied that she was cleaning up the trash that was scattered around the firewood. Sang-il asked, and are they really supposed to believe that? The man heard that he watches his father practice the white crane technique every morning. He's just an ordinary dumb servant after all. He will never be able to master martial arts, unlike Sang-il, the second son of the family. He was kicked into the room. Sang-il was even willing to teach him how to wield a sword himself. Now Chaun-yeop understood everything. They were watching every servant under Sanmi's orders. Let him stand up and try to defend himself. Would he be shy and not even want to try? No respect from these rats. Does he really want to fight the main character who isn't even a master? Somehow he managed to dodge that lunge. This caused Sang-il to fall to the floor. Sang-hee started to worry about her brother. She grabbed the kid's hands and told brother Sang-il to show him. Sang-il was angry because of the fact that this kid dared to dodge. He now had an abrasion on his face, after which he punched him in the stomach with his fist. Of course, Sang-il didn't even bother to call him a stupid tosser. Chaungyeop got angry and the situation got out of control. And now all he has to do is take a beating from Sang-il. Those kids always mess things up. If only the young master had taken the land documents with him, then Chaungyeop would be free. The kid mentally asked the young master what he should do now. It would be great if they met, and Chaungyeop would show him his martial arts skills. But here he gets here for trying to practice with a wooden stick. Martial arts is just his pipe dream. The young master would probably take him down in a heartbeat if they met. Did he really want to show the young master his skills one day? This is absurd. Chaungyeop can't protect himself. He can't keep Soo-young safe. Apologize to the young master. The guy really knows he's pathetic. All he has to do is imagine the young master's disappointed face because of his own uselessness. He really does hate it. He will never become as strong as the young master. Chaun-yeop was even sick of himself. Suddenly, a girl arrived there. It was Soo-young who placed Chaungyeop on her lap. Chaungyeop was too embarrassed. After all, I actually owed it to him. He was to protect her, not the other way around. He mumbled Soo-young's name, saying something about next time. Grandpa Huang told him to wake up. What Chaungyeop was babbling in his sleep said that he was disappointed that he was beaten. Chaungyeop got scared and jumped up right away. He always gets into the story. The old man inquired what happened this time. Only then did the boy feel that he had no pain. He wondered how long he had slept. Chaungyeop inquired how long he had been out. The old man replied that it had been a whole day. It all happened about 24 hours ago. Soo-young found him yesterday. She noticed that there was something wrong with his ribs. If it's left like this, every movement will bring pain. That's why we need to fix it. Sang-il deliberately patted the most vulnerable places. She apologized on his behalf. He would feel better soon, but let him rest for now. It turns out he really did see her. Su-young turned him off, so he wouldn't feel any pain. Old man Huang wondered if that kid was so upset by the news of Su-young's wedding. He just couldn't believe the words he heard. The old man mentioned that it happens at his age. His hormones are raging and he's feeling ancient. Chaungyeop mentioned that it's not true. But the truth is that their protest plays absolutely no role. Chaungyeop remarked that Grandpa doesn't want that either. Old man Huang asked what that had to do with it. The old man's shout makes his ribs shudder. If you think about it like that, he used to live in Cheongwoo-nom, didn't he? Surely Su-young must have sent him here because he was a confidant of the Sol family. It all makes sense now. Chaun-yeop remembers how miserable that old man was at the funeral. That's why he was very curious to know what his relationship with his grandmother was. This is similar to Chaungyeop's relationship with Su-young. The old man asked what he was trying to say with this. Chaungyeop talked about Grandpa Huang, about what was going on in the Sol family, about the incident with the land contract and the young master, about how Sol Sun Hai and Sol Sun Il are related to Jang Sanmi, and now the sudden news that Su-yeon is getting married. His suspicions that Sanmi is involved don't seem so unfounded. What's suspicious is that Jang Sanmi is taking an active part in the wedding. He's worried because Sanmi always only cheats. Grandpa Huang asks, but why on earth would this guy tell him all this? He's always managed to fool this silly old man after all. Chaungyeop always hears that, and he didn't really want to mock him. How his stomach hurt. It's because his ribs are injured. Su-young stopped the internal bleeding, but he still has a recovery period waiting for him. She has reached such a level of martial arts that she can control internal energy. It's only because of this girl that he can now sit up and talk. The old man said to repeat after him. He will teach this guy how to breathe properly. Could it be that the grandfather also studied martial arts? The old man replied that they will talk about it later. First, he should take a slow breath. Proper breathing promotes better circulation of internal energy. And after a couple of cycles, all the pain went away. It was unbelievable. I wonder if Grandpa Huang came up with that. When old man Huang was the same age as Chaungyeop now, he met a sage in the mountains. He gave a book in exchange for raisins. This technique he had read in the same book. Perhaps this stranger was a martial arts master. That's possible. Chaungyeop has a bright mind, so he'll find something useful in it too. He's supposed to be on bed rest anyway, so this will be quite useful. Strighuan himself didn't get further than the first chapter. This book would help him if he wanted to learn martial arts. The sage knew about proper breathing. What else could he learn about from this book? Now he must rest. Chaungyeop asked where he was going. The old man Huang would just tell Chung-eun that this is where Chaungyeop would stay for a while. From this conversation, the old man realized something about him. He was glad that the young master recognized Chaun-yeop. He was happy about it as well. It meant a lot. After which he began to recite the technique. There is heaven and earth, and in between them are people. Within each person flows the energy of both heaven and earth. By keeping one's energy and frequency, one can achieve balance. But this is not true, for there is blood flowing in people. This book is too strange. Much was written next, but after the first sentence, he realized the feeling of the sage who wrote the book. He was too weak and gave up everything to become stronger. So here he will leave the manual of proper breathing as the basis of his inner strength. One who is willing to labor day and night. That person will reach incredible heights. The pain is almost gone, and yet this is only the first chapter. Inhale and exhale. Well, now he realized that he wasn't even breathing well enough. Why is it so difficult? Chaungyeop doesn't know who wrote this book, but it's quite extraordinary. He will memorize everything in this book. A shadow loomed over him. It was Su-young. Su-young had to come here to check on him, so she asked how he was feeling. She wanted to apologize on behalf of her brother and sister. The guy replied that there was no need to do so since she had already helped him ease his pain. However, she was still worried about him. What a blessing it was that everything turned out okay. Chaungyeop replied that they really were fine, at least until he came across them again. Su-young carried the medication, so she asked that he remember to take it on time, until he ran into those two again. Also, Su-young asked him to say hello to Grandpa Huang, after which the two women left. Chaungyeop thought he could endure. However, Su-young is so worried. He needs to become stronger. Many times he inhaled and exhaled, a deep inhale and a slow exhale. Grandpa Huang walked into the room and asked why he was awake. It was getting pretty late. The guy was a little shocked, but it had just been morning after all. Chaungyeop asked how long he'd been gone. Grandpa Huang wondered if he still hadn't come to his senses. He hadn't been gone, and half the day was already nighttime outside. and he had only just perfected his breathing technique. Grandpa was also surprised that he could stand on his feet and nothing hurt. You could tell that even the guy himself was shocked by it. Not even any discomfort, and he is full of strength as well as energy. However, that's a good thing. Grandpa told Chaungyeop to sit closer, for he had something he wanted to tell him. The kid wondered where he had been all this time, and what he had in his bag. Grandpa Huang was going through his things and remembered a very fascinating story. It happened before Chaun-yeop was even born. There were two families that were vying for power over Honam Castle. The first was the Gate of the Meteor Sword, led by Dan Mok-jung, and the second was the White Dragon Fortress. It was lesser known, and so the White Dragon Fortress was victorious due to its unique martial arts skills. The Baekdu alliance that prophesied the victory of the Meteoric Sword Gate watched the fight in amazement. Meteor Sword Gate lost and retreated. After this incident, nothing was heard of either family. Suddenly, the successor of the White Dragon Fortress revealed himself. Could it be someone from the Yayul family? Sanmi must be in cahoots with them. Grandfather tried to dig up something about Su Young's fiancé, but there's very little information about him. Jang Sanmi, she knows for sure. He was just looking out for Su Yun. The protagonist is starting to realize they know next to nothing about the Yayul family, so it's unknown if this marriage will endure Su Young's troubles. After which, Chaungyeop asked what it was. It's a garment that was made for the old man by his grandmother when she was alive. After the funeral, he couldn't even touch it. Until today. Chaungyeop understands exactly how he feels. However, the old man replied that he needed to deal with it himself. Chaungyeop asked that Grandpa should be careful. Old man Huang might not be as smart as this guy, but he's seen some things over the years. He can handle it. However, Chaungyeop should keep an eye on Su Young. Grandpa Huang left at dawn. Grandma meant a lot to Grandpa Huang. But now that Grandma is dead, Grandpa has no choice but to leave. He promised not only the young master but also Grandpa that he would protect Su Yan, and now they're both gone. And instead of Chaun-yeop taking care of Su Yan, she's taking care of him herself. That's why he has to become stronger. Whether it's for revenge or to protect his loved ones, but it doesn't matter. He wants to live this life without regrets. As a servant, he wants to arrange his life in such a way, to be free, with no one above him. To do that, he must become stronger. Dark magic would be more effective here, but there is no love on the dark side. He mentally apologized to Su Young, saying that he can't be a reliable defense for now. She is smart, so she will be able to get through difficult moments on her own. She has her own path, and Chaungyeop has to find his own way. Next to him was also Grandpa Huang. He may not understand his grandfather's feelings 100%, but he saw his sadness when he couldn't protect someone he cared about. Things will be different for Chaun-yeop. He heard a familiar voice. It was the Chaunyeop who was looking for Chaun-yeop. The man knew what a fidgety guy this guy was, so he was afraid he would go crazy with bed rest. Still, he was glad that Chaun-yeop was okay. Chaun-yeop brought him some food. He also relayed the words to Grandpa Huang that he could take it. If the old man doesn't come back in a few days, those words that he might not come back means a lot. Could it be that Grandpa had gotten himself into trouble? Chaungyeop wondered if Grandpa Huang had said that. Jung-un replied that he did. It looks like he's gotten far. He probably has a lot of things to think about. Now it can be said without a doubt that Jang Sanmi got to him. San-hee and San-il didn't just snoop around. Sanmi wants to get rid of all the undesirables and to Su Young's wedding. First the young master and now Grandpa Huang. In that case, it will be Chaungyeop's turn. He realized that the time had come for him to act. He untied what Grandpa Huang had left behind, saying that he would never forget him. The young master asked to take care of Su Young. Chaungyeop will do that. No doubt his help would not be much right now, but he promised that nothing would happen to her. Her thoughts were preoccupied with the fact that Grandpa Huang had been gone for days. Could something have happened to him? A maid came in and apologized for disturbing her. Indeed, Chaungyeop had asked her to give her something. Su Young thanked her for her service and replied that she could return to her duties. After which, she started to untie what the guy handed over. Inside were the land documents that Su Biom was accused of stealing. There was also a book. Su Young took the book to see what it was about. There was a letter from him. Chaungyeop was apologizing to Su Yan for not taking care of her properly. By the time she reads it, he will be far away. The person she's marrying isn't who she thinks he is. She might be sad that young master Grandpa Huang and Chaungyeop aren't with her, but he was confident that she would think of something. Chaungyeop asked that she leave this place as soon as possible. The kids didn't realize who else he was. He didn't look like a local. In his bag, he noticed gold coins. Those two women had jewelry, and the man also had gold coins. Chaun-yeop left them enough money. He no longer had any connection to this place. Even though he had lived here for more than 10 years, he was different now. Always has been and always will be. And now, he would focus on himself. He mentally informed the young master and Su-yeon that Chaungyeop's story was beginning. She had been informed that the Huang had died without blabbing. Now that his identity was known, then she would deal with it herself next. Sanmi ordered the body to be disposed of. Now no one would be able to break up this wedding. She didn't even expect that this old geezer to stay. It was the right decision to make San high and San-il keep an eye on him. And now no one will stop them. Not even that clown Sol Sadok, Jang Sanmi. She's the first lady of the Sol family. This is just the beginning. There's still a lot of work to be done. There can't be any mistakes. 5 days later, so they didn't send anyone after him. We could make a break for it. Of course, he didn't forget to practice his breathing technique. First, Chaungyeop will sleep here for a couple days, then the mountains. It would take him a year, maybe 2 years to master the book. He'll need something more advanced than what the Salt family teaches. Once he finishes his training, he'll find Su-yeon even if it takes a few more days. He will have his revenge. Perhaps one day he can become a worthy opponent to the master himself. But that's not all. There is one thing he wants more than anything else. The protagonist picked up the stick that was under his foot. After that, he picked up the knife. All his life he has been a servant. Once it's over, he'll live the life he wants. Chaungyeop will be free. He will also make himself known to the whole world. 2 years later, the woman noticed that he had been on his feet since morning. The man noted that he was only sweeping now, and she had already managed to run somewhere. She didn't really have a choice. The new servant is not fulfilling his duties. After all, he's a servant like the rest of them, and he's making a fool of himself. That was never the case with the young master. The woman told him to be quiet, in case someone hears. The atmosphere won't be the same after even Su-yeon ran away. No wonder people are saying that the Salt family is losing ground. There was weakness is gone, and so is the honor. Who could even consider this family as the best now? The man asked. But is it normal to marry firstborns out of convenience? He hoped that one day the young master would return and marry. That would bring greatness back to the Salt family. He who walks the road of evil is consumed by a dark force. He commits atrocities forever, remaining an enemy. The inner demons take over, and then the soul comes to an end. But there are always those whose will is unshakable. So from the top 10 masters, only 2 remained in the original faction, not succumbing to the temptations of the dark side of the force. JV, the legendary warrior, and his rival, the righteous demon. The others bowed their heads to them. JV and the righteous demon were very humble and fair. This is a heavenly fortress. A righteous demon named Galmin-hyuk also settled here. Once again, she defeated her grandfather. It was the 3rd time in a row. Galmin ran, Galmin-hyuk's granddaughter. He promised that he would start teaching her martial arts then. Min-hyuk mentioned that it could be dangerous. However, Min-ran was adamant. After all, Grandpa had promised. Min-ran asked if he wasn't even going to keep his own word. Min-hyuk started to explain that that's not what he meant, and she misunderstood everything. Min-ran grasps everything on the fly. He really should train her. He taught her how to play Go in the hopes that it would keep her away from martial arts. But that's how it turned out. He had no interest in martial arts at all when he was a child. However, his talent and physical strength were not for books and go-go games. His master had begged Galmin-hyuk himself, until he finally convinced him to step into the path of martial arts. His family, including himself, was more attracted to science than martial arts. But somehow, Min-ran, his little flower, had always dreamed of doing just that. As a little girl, she loved to run up behind her grandfather and hug him by his big, broad shoulders. But now she was more interested in Grandpa's skills. A subordinate came to him and explained that a stranger was challenging him. Before fighting him back, he wanted to know Min-hyuk's opinions. It had been a long time since anyone had challenged him, so he decided to check it out. In fact, he just decided to avoid his responsibility to his granddaughter. The old man replied that he'll be back soon, so they'll talk later. He always likes to change the subject. After that, he walked out with his subordinates to the young man who had decided to conquer the heavenly fortress. The old man inquired about his name. You were Subom. However, the lad replied that he had no surname. Subom came to the greatest. Everyone present wondered if this guy was crazy. Isn't he just a fool? Does this guy really think that he can just barge in here and still demand something? He's probably looking for death. He's not really here to fight the Heavenly Fortress Master. His true purpose is to gain experience here. He is too modest for a mere provocateur. Bold, but straightforward. It's been a long time since he's met guys like this. Min Hyuk asked if he knew how to play Go. Subum said he did. In that case, if he wins the game, he'll get what he wants. A game of Go is a test that everyone who dares to challenge the heavenly fortress must pass. It is a simple test. This test can say a lot about a person. Go is a logical game. To win, you have to calculate your opponent's tactics. If you play well, you expand your territory. But don't let luck get the better of him. You can't win without a good strategy. It's not a game for average minds. There's only one person who could beat Min Hyuk in Go, but he's not playing against her now. It was already nightfall. Min Ran was surprised that they still hadn't finished. They have to play 3 times. The one with 2 wins will win. He looks puzzled. Is Grandpa really going to be beaten? This guy's different. He's clearly a genius. Everyone makes the same mistakes, but some is different. There's something about him. The game of Go reveals the character and personality of the player. If he's smart and savvy, his style of play is like water bonding. If he is honest and fair, his playing style is like a mountain. He is also like a wolf who guards his territory and doesn't let anyone get through. Listening opponent. Min Hyuk kept trying to figure out what the heavenly fortress was for based on his Go game. If he's as talented as he says he is, he could join any faction. He may be a potential threat, but he's still a rookie. With the right approach, he could make a powerful mastermind. Moreover, his internal energy level suggests he's on the right path. This means the young man comes from a prestigious family. But why would someone of his status want all this? Subum wants to achieve the goal he has set for himself. He can't let down the people dear to his heart. He can't delay. Someone he promised a bright future is waiting for him. He gave his word. That's why he'll keep his word. Subum wants to become stronger as soon as possible. There are things in life that take time. This guy is destined to become great. If he's patient, he can achieve even greater things. And so he was defeated. Subeom felt like he was leading this game, but here he was beaten. Did it all happen because he was distracted by his thoughts? Subum replied that it was his fiasco. However, he is an interesting opponent. Min Hyuk wondered if this guy didn't really challenge him to a duel because he wanted to fight him. He never really wanted to fight Min Hyuk because he soberly assessed his chances. It seemed to him that if he challenged Min Hyuk himself, he could learn something even from just talking to him. This kid's modesty is impressive. There's really something to it. The old man called for Min Ran. Have her stop eavesdropping and come out here for a moment. He introduced his granddaughter by the name of Min Rang. Go is not just a game. It can tell a lot about the player. He wanted to put the 2 of them in a sparring match. Min Ran is just starting to learn martial arts, but she has a steely stamina. A great chance to get to know her abilities. And if this guy still wants to fight him, let him wait a couple days and they'll play another game. Min Ran mentioned that she was only a beginner. Does Grandpa really want her to compete with this master? Grandpa had been avoiding practicing with her for the past 3 days. Grandpa mentioned that this guy was about her age. Min Ran still said that he should ask her first. The girl asked if Grandpa would teach her every day if she agreed. Min Hyuk said yes. There wouldn't be any more excuses. In that case, she wouldn't mind playing with the young master. In fact, Subum realized that Grandpa had just dumped his business on him. Time passed, and the day of the duel arrived. A crowd had gathered. Everyone was eager to see the unprecedented spectacle. Was that young man really going to fight Min Hyuk, and he wasn't even afraid? It was noticeable that he was determined. There's a huge crowd, but what's most surprising is their aura. Their movements are smooth like waves. But in case of chaos, they are ready to hit the rocks at any moment. Min Hyuk, on the other hand, is able to calm this storm. That clearly shows how wise he is. The opponent is the granddaughter of a legendary master, so one must not loosen their grip. Min Hyuk's presence seems to be stressing him out. Sitting next to Min Hyuk was his wife Seo Ji-young. The woman asked if he really put his own granddaughter out and proud of himself. The man pointed out that he wasn't. Ji-yeon asked if it was really that necessary. She's going to have a real sparring session after all. Meanwhile, Min Hyuk will be engrossed in another game of Go. It's not fair to Min Ran. He promised he'd teach her everything. Instead, he's giving her a duel with some hustler. Min Hyuk asked me not to say anything because he knows Min Ran well. He's most worried about her safety. There's no need to worry since he personally supervised that the fight was on the swords of the heavenly fortress. She asked the young master to take care of her. Min Ran is younger than him and has less experience. Subum replied that she is too modest. In truth, she is making great progress. In that case, it was worth proceeding to the fight. He had no trouble putting up a block. However, it was to be expected that he had a good defense. Taking advantage of his shoulder, she was able to leap to the other side. As soon as she landed on the ground, she immediately decided to go for a counterattack, but even that was something that Sum was able to block. This girl clearly shouldn't be underestimated. It was probably time to strike. Minran managed to duck from that strike. It was really close for her. After which, she increased the distance between them. Subam clearly realized that she was adjusting well to her opponent. She is fast and flexible. There's no way to be relaxed. There must be a reason why grandfather chose this particular guy. The young master has excellent skills. For the first time, her high expectations were met. She was eager to see if the young master could withstand this blow as well. This had never happened before. It was as if she had a different mindset. After which, Minran jumped straight at him. The girl activated the snow cloud sword. Subam clearly knew what this technique was, so it wasn't difficult for him to respond to it. Myung-gi-hai, the snow mountain demon. Ming-ran was his disciple, and she is very capable. The man next to him, Gi-ke, asked, "What does apprentice mean?" He lost a bet and was robbed. Minran has achieved impressive results in such a short time. Despite the way she wields the sword, this young man doesn't seem to care at all about the blade that passes near his face, but keeps a close eye on the mines of the wounds, and also reacts instantly to her lunges. He doesn't twitch in an attempt to get back from the blade, but looks out for his opponent's mistakes with his gaze. At first, he was shocked for a reason. This young man must have been through many battles. Suddenly, Subam stood up the same stance that Min Rang did before. The two were surprised just by looking at such a thief. A fool dares to imitate the snow cloud technique without even learning it. There's no way he learned this technique just by looking at it a single time. Where did such a guy even come from? Subam moved to attack. Minran mentioned that no one learns ball techniques by observation. The young master never ceases to amaze. What he doesn't realize is that he's only giving himself away by imitating. Unfortunately for the young master, Min's ball skills go far beyond a single technique. She was curious to see how he would be able to repel this attack. Minran used the 7 swords of the Yuma. Their blades clashed once again. Subam tried to hold back her onslaught. Well, of course, she wasn't going to just give up. So Minran attacked him again. Everyone present was curious to see who would win this fight as well. As it turned out, the sword Min wounds were right next to Subiom's throat. This was to be expected from the granddaughter of a righteous demon. Minran thanked the young master for this beautiful duel. She had learned a lot. In fact, this young lady had taught him a lot. He had heard that there were many talents in the world, and today he realized why they said that. Min Hyuk mentioned that they both did their best. It was impressive. The creators of the snow sword should be thanked. And the creators of the 7 swords of Yuma, don't they deserve respect? Mingran asked if that meant he had learned the 7 swords of Yuma. This guy is certainly smart, but is that possible? Wu Zhe replied that her words were true. The boy couldn't have mastered his technique, only glanced at it once. This technique was the culmination of many years of his life, so it was definitely impossible. However, he had seen the battle himself. The guy was able to replicate the movements of the snow cloud sword, even though he only saw it once. In that case, they should check it out. He had heard the man's word, after all. If Subam didn't learn anything, he definitely wouldn't be able to repeat it. Wooge demanded that he stop being so reserved and finally show his full strength. Honesty and openness would play in his favor. Since that was what they wished, he would fulfill what they said. It was incredible. He really was able to fulfill the 7 swords of the Yuma. The man was also shocked that he was able to master the technique with just a glance. But how was that even possible? Subam replied that in the 7-sword Yuma technique, the blade moves so gracefully. He admired it and traced the blade. But if it was considered stealing, he was willing to never use that technique again. Min Hyuk asked if he wasn't ashamed to take someone else's technique. At the same moment, the old man used telepathy. He said to this guy to just listen and keep quiet. Min Hyuk asked if he could master the art of stealth under him. How long had he waited for someone like this guy? If he mastered the techniques of the 8 great defenders of the heavenly fortress, it would no doubt only benefit him. If he learns the 5 mysteries of the 7-sword Yuma, he will become a master. Subam understands exactly what he wants to say. However, he doesn't want Min Hyuk to be his teacher. That bastard even has a crown already. In that case, it's okay. That bastard wished for it. Min Hyuk remembered what he said about giving a master of the original martial arts. Min Hyuk had nothing to be ashamed of. He had always taken the example of his master. Words like magic or blades are the root cause of bloodshed. They would be created by the masters he would listen to. They divide the world into black and white, believing that it is impossible to simply exist. Does Subam think he has any chance against Min Hyuk? He's trying to paint the world with one color. People like Subom should be nipped in the bud. The guy took the blow. Then he was thrown backwards. Wu-ge immediately jumped down and asked the Lord why he was acting like that. Min-hyuk was angry that this guy had insulted his teacher and spit on the heavenly fortress. Relying on talent alone and yet being so narrow-minded. This guy is just bullying. Wu-ge didn't understand why the Lord was so agitated by the words of a mere youth. Min-hyuk noted that it was too noisy here, so he ordered Yoon-ryong and Pun-ryong to throw this arrogant bastard into the Sunnam Mountain. Anyone who helps this arrogant bastard will meet his death. They carried out Min-hyuk's order. What a great loss. Wu-ge offered to go back. After a few hours, he was able to wake up. As it turned out, he had a book. Now that he had the secret manual of the 7 Swords of Yuma, things should go easier. Looks like he should thank Master Wu-ge for the gift of opportunity. In fact, Wu-ge saw him as his teacher, Woo-sung-wak. Having experienced the greatness of the heavenly demon fortress in his heart, the words that the world was not black and white would forever remain in his heart. He remembered Min-hyuk's words. What a long time he had waited for someone like Wu-bom. He might have a lot of questions now, but he should just listen. When this truth is revealed, most masters will want to kill him. Until everyone fully understands, he must keep it a secret. This will ensure his safe exit from here, and what happens next should be up to him. However, Master Woo-sung-wak is too late. As the one who saved the Asura realm by handing over in front of the Martial Alliance. The guy's first teacher came from the Martial Alliance, so he asked not to be upset that he would be the second teacher. Meanwhile, Chaun-yeop was also busy practicing. He turned his attention to his tattered sword, and also to the way it had fared. Chaungyeop didn't understand why his sword trembled every time he got into the final stance. Right now, his movements were much better than what he had shown in the Gaju. He's only familiar with the white crane technique, so he's trying to perfect it as best he can. And now he noticed the same animal that had come here for more than the first time. The guy asked what this animal was staring at. Did he notice something interesting? Looked like it's an expert. Could it be a sage? Chaungyeop started growling. And then this animal decided to attack him. It was as if it was happy to do so. Its paw touched Chaungyeop's back. After that, it carried away the beef jerky that was in the bag. But still, the guy didn't understand how the white fox could move so fast with such short steps. He didn't feel anything special on her pads, but she moved effortlessly, only on her toes. Perhaps redistributing the force from his palm to his fingers would help him too. It did work, though. The sword moved more naturally in each direction. The lessons from the white fox were much better than the Salt family. All this time, the chest had opened so easily. After which, he returned to the cave. Chaun-yeop has already gotten used to breathing properly. It aids in his recovery. He's storing internal energy better than he thought. But he still lacks martial arts techniques. It doesn't matter how smoothly he swings a single sword strike. It's impossible to create a great technique. The guy wondered if it was possible to keep swinging the sword like this. A great technique would come out. Perhaps he should look to other animals for inspiration, like he did with the white fox. The snake navigates easily underground. Without a limb, there's not much it can do. A rabbit hopping here and there. That's overkill. A trout that skillfully catches the underwater current. That's too much. Chaun-yeop wondered if it was too late for butterflies. She'd better fly away or the sparks would get on her wings. He kept trying to chase it away with his sword, but the butterfly just sat on its tip. And then an idea popped into his head. The butterfly's movements. 1 year later, Chaun-yeop continued to refine the movement until when he finished the ball would move easily like a butterfly's wing. The trajectory was drawn over and over again. The technique he had perfected could not be fully revealed by an ordinary sword. The focus is not on the form, but on the trajectory. One must copy the movements of the butterfly with the sword. First position, second, third stance, and the final stance, fourth position. His sword was destroyed. It looks like this sword has already been used. It just couldn't withstand the power of the final stance. We must descend the mountain and find a new sword. It must be flexible so that it can withstand all positions. Still, Chaungyeop was satisfied with the result. When the time came, the blood butterfly technique would be completed. The guy gathered all his belongings and left the cave as he saw that a white fox had reappeared in front of him. This creature was constantly hanging around him. Did he really want to make this cave his home so badly? Even found himself a girlfriend. Whether they make this cave their home or not, it doesn't matter anymore. This is where their paths diverge. It's been 3 years since he left the Salt family. Su-yeon had to leave and disappear as well. It's time for revenge and conquer the world. Golden City Transportation Service. It's one of the 10 representative services in Hanam. Customer trust and a good reputation were vital to the transportation service. They are known for their willingness to transport any size and type of goods. However, one day one incident changed everything. No one noticed which item being transported was stolen. An unknown person had tampered with it. Moreover, the transportation service began to be attacked frequently during transportation. The head of the Golden City single-handedly decided to regain the lost honor of the service. But he was attacked by the unknown, after which he died. The Golden City fell, followed by the other transportation services. Meanwhile, a new organization of the Blue Dragon Bureau has begun to invade their territory, indicating signs of a major conspiracy. Golden City weakened, barely keeping afloat and existing in name only. This place too has fallen at the hands of the enemy. Is there anything left that they haven't already lost? She can't leave things as they are. The acting head of the Golden City with Yeoju. Yeoju wanted to find an escort for this mission. Her brother approached her, the deputy head of the Golden City, Song Yo-hoon. Yo-hoon asked not to make such a gloomy face. If the head of the agency walked around with such a face, it would cause the others to worry. Yeoju agreed, asking if he'd found anyone. The guy came quite early. Yo-hoon replied that he had indeed found one. It's just that he looks, though he's skillful, a little out of control. It didn't really matter. The fact that they found at least someone is already good news. Yeoju wanted to meet him. If they send out a transportation, it would undoubtedly be attacked. But if the transportation is guarded by someone who is skilled in martial arts, it will be safer. That's why it's worth a try. It turns out, Yo-hong doubted that they were suitable for an escort. She decided not to judge a book by its cover and listen to them. The man asked what kind of goods they were going to transport. He immediately said he knew how the Golden City was doing. If she clearly explains what needs to be done, they will act. This is escorting an empty wagon. They will escort a wagon with no goods in it. As they already know, the Golden City has lost many valuable things, including its reputation due to the constant robberies, to honor their father who protected the wagons until the very end. She, as the head of the transportation service, must restore the reputation. But did she think how effective it would be? Did she really think she could rally the representatives of the 10 fallen services with her protest? This man had figured out her plan as soon as she mentioned the empty wagon. At least they'll realize how nasty the Blue Dragon bureaus are. She's either naive or stupid. He'll be the first to end this conversation. Yeoju appreciates his offer to help, but it's none of his business how they have things and circumstances. She didn't understand at all who this guy even was. The other man, however, suggested to calm down a bit and continue their conversation. This guy generally leaves in the middle of a conversation. There were about 8 people here. He knows they're hiding, so let them come down. First, the head of the service should gather all the trained workers in one place for security reasons. Yeoju asked what he was talking about. It looks like it's already started, so they should leave. As soon as they went out, it was noticed that the man was surrounded by attackers. As soon as the masked man only attacked, his weapon was immediately knocked out of his hands. It would seem that even being surrounded was not much of a problem for him. Yeoju didn't understand at all what was going on here. Suddenly, they heard a shout that these two had finally shown themselves and needed to be eliminated. However, these people were dealt with by a man. They had negotiated the mission. Who's gonna pay him if the head of the service dies? This guy has amazing skills, she had to admit that. Meanwhile, a rock flew into the head of the man who wanted to bring a weapon. It was thrown by the guy with his straw hat. After that, he decided to take that hat off. Hiding there was none other than Chaun-yeop. He already wanted to finish it properly. The man asked what they would do with them. Chaungyeop suggested that they bury the bodies first, so that the enemies wouldn't find them. He asked Yeoju and Yo-hoon if they were okay and if they were injured. Thanks to their efforts, they were fine. Everyone was prepared for this to happen one day. They acted with determination. These guys decided to attack in the middle of the night. They are dealing with guys who can't even fight back decently. Chaungyeop asked him what he was complaining about. He didn't even get a good shot at one. He was actually defending the owners. Chaungyeop replied that he was a bodyguard, and that was his job. There's nothing to brag about. The two of them did a great job. However, Yeoju didn't understand at all why they even responded to a third-rate job. These two could be the decisive factor in the recovery of the Gumsung territory. The situation should be under control now. If they agreed, then she would like to continue the conversation they hadn't finished. That simply couldn't be the case. Could it be that this man is the sword demon everyone is talking about? He can't even remember the last time he drank, but that's really it. Han-pil, the ghost of the bandit who defeated the northern ghosts Wow twins and Sun Dok-ho. Han-pil replied that he is not the ghost of a bandit. He is the ghost of Sword Master Sun. However, they were curious to know where the rest of his group was. They talked about that young man with the butterfly style. He said that he would look around and come back. He's quite a sensitive fellow. Han Pil doesn't know him intimately enough to say if he's always like that. Yu Ju asks if they haven't known each other for a while. In a nutshell, they first met about 2 months ago. He was told that there was a suspicious gambling den nearby. He thought he'd find something interesting, but he ended up just getting ripped off. This guy, who only recently became an adult, is making a fortune in illegal gambling. He had a sword, he must know martial arts. Han Pil decided to check him out. Besides, he's over there and walking right now. Chaungyeop stopped. The guy greeted the vagrant. Isn't he profiting from cheating people and stealing their money? He seems to think he looks dangerous with that rusty knife. He drew his sword and turned to this brat. Doesn't the name Han Pil mean anything to him? He has a thing for that brat, but he won't resort to that for the time being. On the contrary, he asked him to come along because he wanted to show him how big the world is. It seems this guy came here because rumors of this place reached him. He might be useful. It's not a bad place, and no one is even looking. That's really true. Only Chaungyeop will see his failure. Han Pil replied that they'll still see who defeats who. Han Pil asked what his name is. He doesn't have a proper name to introduce himself, but before they start, then he wanted to ask something. Just how good he is compared to the top masters. Han Pil seems to be strong, yet he doesn't know much about him. In that case, he would find out in battle. He was able to block this lunge of the man. He went straight into a frontal attack. Looks like this guy really knows how to do something. Han Pil kept attacking and Chaungyeop defended himself. After that, Han Pil decided to attack again, and Chaungyeop just jumped back. Now he understood everything. Just by watching this man fight, one could tell that he was really good. And because of this, Chaungyeop also realized how much stronger he himself had become. He knew that Han Pil had intentionally slowed down his punch so that he could dodge more easily. Could it be that he did it on purpose so that Chaungyeop could talk while fighting him? He acts as if he was provoked, but he actually approaches the fight with caution. It is more important for Chaungyeop to understand his opponent's intentions than to react to provocation. In this case, this man passes. Chaungyeop has proposed a bet. If Han Pil wins, he'll give him all the money he won and all the information he has. He'll even help him settle things. But if Chaungyeop wins, Han Pil will help him for 6 months without complaining. Now it's time to have a real fight. He didn't understand what was wrong with this guy at all. He'd set the terms backwards. Did he really have something to argue about? Han Pil doesn't really mind. But he wanted to know what exactly he wanted this guy to accomplish. If it's something dirty, he refuses to get involved. Chaungyeop is looking for someone, but if he keeps searching alone, it will take too long. Han Pil hoped not to hear any excuses after losing. In that case, it was time to begin. If he's an incomparable master at this age, then he's definitely one of the 2 people Han Pil is looking for. Exceptional internal energy, the second form of the blood butterfly technique. The fluttering of the blood butterfly in the wind. After that, Chaungyeop launched an attack. Han Pil didn't understand what this technique was at all. But before he could realize it, the technique had already caught up with him. The man fell to the ground. It was unbelievable because he had exerted all his strength, but he was still pushed away. Chaungyeop stretched out his hand to help him get up. In this fight, the victory was his. Han Pil would now keep him company. Han Pil only suspected who he was messing with. His technique is impressive. But what exactly is his inner strength? Such a level is not easy to achieve at his age. He asked to at least tell what faction he was in and who his master was. If this guy is a threat to the martial arts world, then Han Pil will have to get rid of him. Could it be that Han Pil is from a righteous faction? Still, one shouldn't throw around words after defeat. He thought the righteous faction was the only ones who were tough. He doesn't like misunderstandings. Perhaps he should say something to avoid unnecessary conflict. Great Yin's breathing technique. That's the name of the medical reference book he draws his power from. He also doesn't belong to any faction, and he doesn't have a master either. The book is his master. Chaungyeop took the theory as a basis. This was the first time he heard about Great Yin's breathing technique. It's only natural after all, the book didn't have any title. Chaungyeop had given it a name himself. Chaungyeop asked what his plan was now. Han Pil asked if it wasn't up to him now. Chaungyeop asked if it was possible that people from the righteous faction were sniffing out something about the gambling den. There seems to be something wrong with the martial arts world, and that's why Han Pil is here. The guy has offered to join him. To accomplish his goal, he needs to know where Han Pil was originally headed. In that case, they should go to Hanam, and that's how they ended up here. In order to defeat the sword demon, one needs to know who he is. He doesn't know this guy's name, but the crimson butterfly technique he created was really impressive. Therefore, he just calls him the Butterfly Man. Han Pil has participated in many battles, but this is the first time he sees such a beautiful technique. Behind him, Chaun-yeop was already standing behind him and asked why they were talking about him. So to speak, just remember the ray? Here comes the sun. Han Pil mentioned that they rarely get together, so they need to talk. Now it was their turn to tell their story. He is too capable and calm for his age. If her faction had someone like this man, perhaps things wouldn't be so bad. Previously, Yeoju hadn't had a chance to thank them properly. She told them to thank them for the two of them helping them. Han Pil replied that it was their job as bodyguards. It's hard to call them both bodyguards. She doesn't know why these two are here, but their goal is to spread their influence throughout Hanam, to bring the Golden City from its knees. She'd do anything to stop them from honoring her service, so she's forced to ask for their help. Yeoju was even willing to give them her house when she pays off her loan. When she sends the strip, the girl asked that they protect her loved ones, even if she and her brother are killed on the way. Now it makes sense how the Golden City survived. However, they acted too recklessly. Chaungyeop refused. Yeoju thought it was about money, so she wanted to offer more. But this girl apparently doesn't understand anything at all. The house is the second problem. The first is the transportation. Turning on the guards will make them go into a minus, and he doesn't work that way. Before the deal, he'd rather help them make the Golden City a service that can provide compensation. After all, their welfare is more valuable to him. After which he handed them a promissory note from the bank. The transportation could end in a few months. It would take years to rebuild the Golden City. To reassert their name, they need a solid foundation. If she takes the promissory note, she can pay off the loan on the house. And then the house will belong to them. He doesn't need that house, so she can leave the deeds, either with the governor or her father. Yeoju still didn't understand why he was helping them. What the protagonist wants takes time. If the Golden City regains its reputation, things will get better, and they will owe him. He'd better consider it an investment. It's up to him to stay here or leave. No one has the right to stop him. But for now, he's decided to stay here as a bodyguard. They had agreed to those terms. The girl thanked him for that. Han Pil mentioned that he was making such grand gestures, and he couldn't even be bought a drink. He did say it was an investment, didn't he? What good is his drink anyway? Besides, there's plenty of that here, so let him get as drunk as he wants. He offered the two of them a drink, but it was obvious that the man was just trying to change the subject. Looking at these two, he immediately thinks of Su Bom and Su Young. How eager to find out what Master Soul Su Biom is doing right now, and also where Su Young is. What the Golden City is experiencing has already happened at the New Year's festival. It's all connected. We have to disrupt their plans. That means they failed. Blue Dragon Bureau leader Kwak Chio. Not only had the victims of the disaster moved to the Golden Dragon, but now everyone's attention was focused there. The deputy head of the Blue Dragon Bureau, Kwak Gi Ryang. He can't believe that the Golden City has turned into an iron fortress using the victims of the disaster. He was there and saw everything with his own eyes. What an idiot he is. Chi-O told him to monitor the situation instead of resorting to force. Gi Ryang replied that the skills of the two martial artists they met that day were beyond all expectations. Did the fallen city really have a master who could easily deal with 10 people? They must have taken it up for a reason as well. The man asked if they were able to recognize them. Gui Ryang was going to recognize from the scars, but they got rid of the bodies. It had nothing to do with them, so he suggested moving on. After this matter was settled, they would bypass the Salt family. After that, they'll finally take the position of the leading family. No mistakes can be made. What's most unfortunate for those two masters is that the service is on the verge of bankruptcy. Next time, Guy Ryang will meet them in person. How fascinating to see it again. The victims of the disaster were worried about the arrival of winter, but they don't look worried right now. This seems to be the main residence. Yeoju asked to do as she said. Han Pil understood everything. It was easy to guess that these two had killed the 10 people they had sent then. The desire to deal with them right now just boiled up in his chest. He decided to check back in a minute. He would really like to see just how impressive they were as martial artists. Han Pil asked, wondering why he suddenly stopped. Chaungyeop said to be quiet. Someone is watching them. Han Pil asked how on earth he knew that. There was a person in the mansion that Chaungyeop saw for the first time. Once he saw someone's face, he would never forget it again. Chaungyeop told the man to stay here with the mistress, and he decided to lure that man out. Yeoju asked why the young master suddenly rushed somewhere. Han Pil replied that it didn't matter and asked that their mistress follow him. Even she was beginning to guess that someone was following them. Han Pil asked, "But can he manage alone without a sword then?" "He's too curious, so he'll probably want one-on-one. He'll definitely show himself if there's no one with him. He's also curious about something about this guy. Therefore, it's even more convenient this way. If Han Pil disobeys and goes along with him, he'll be in trouble. Han Pil is actually 6 years older than him, and this mansion commands him." Meanwhile, Gi Ryang didn't understand why on earth he had separated, and why on earth he wasn't accompanying the head. In any case, the perfect opportunity presented itself. Right now, he would figure it out for himself, just how good his skills were. Suddenly, he noticed the one he was following disappeared. Where could this guy have disappeared to in the first place? Chaun-yeop was behind him, who assumed that this guy was from the Blue Dragon Bureau, and he had good instincts. Does he really like to complicate things so much? I guess I should admit to you that all the problems in the world are just because of people like him. Chaungyeop asked if he wanted to fight. Maybe because of Toho being a man of high status and taking care of his image, it would be especially amusing to see him wallowing in the mud. All he could do was laugh with Togo that this guy was only planning to do it with his bare hands. He must be good with a sword, after all. Even a wooden stick would do. There's no need to worry about that, so just let him attack. Perhaps he'll then realize if he should have raised his sword at all once the fight starts. In that case, don't let this guy blame him later for not warning him. What a sloppy stance he has. It seems that from martial arts, he only knows how to swing a sword. Chaun-yeop attacked him with his fist, and that guy managed to dodge. However, there was a huge mark left on the ground after that attack. Guiryang didn't realize at all that it was just now. He had caused this kind of pressure with just his fist. He only had to guess who this guy even was. At the same time, Chaun-yeop decided to attack him. Gi Ryang also decided to attack at the same moment. Because of this, there was a cut on Chaungyeop's clothes. Blood was oozing out from his wound. Surprisingly, he was even able to dodge it. This guy is clearly capable. He has the potential to become an unrivaled master one day. Chaun-yeop wondered if those claws were real. It would probably hurt a lot if you broke them at the root. Let him better try out Gi Ryang's ghostly shadow claw on himself as well. His technique had reached the perfection of the 8th step, after which he attacked the guy again. First, he planned to take away his arm. As soon as Chaungyeop only attacked, he immediately grabbed his arm. He decided to release his power to drive his opponent away from him. Now, instead of releasing all the force at once, he would split it up and attack quickly. The impact caused him to be pushed back a bit. This person is blocking all of his attacks. Moreover, these lunges are more dangerous than the previous ones, and the fact that he is not familiar with his skills makes him a special opponent. We'll have to see how long he can last. His clothes were already in a bad state. There were also some wounds on his body. He attacked with all his might, but he couldn't even land a critical hit. This guy is perfectly fine. Yu-ju asked if they should intervene. Han Pil replied that it was fine. This is just a normal thing for him. He fights one-on-one for a reason, but if it gets hot, they will intervene. Right now, they will only get in the way. He's adapting quickly and already dodging all the blows. The man knew he had exceptional abilities, but he was becoming more and more unpredictable each time. He might not be a bad guy, but Han Pil had seen instances where people with this kind of talent had done terrible things. That's how the martial arts world works. They had better finish quickly already, or he was getting hungry. Ye-ju didn't understand what this nonsense was, after all. Just now he was saying serious things. This man was also hard to understand. He didn't understand what was wrong with this boy either. Every time he dodges better and better, deflecting every attack, he saw the dots in front of him. This was his path of victory. Guiryang jumped back. He knew exactly what this technique was. This lousy guy seemed to be copying his opponent. That was why he stopped during the fight. In order to study his opponent's fighting style, he needed to observe him. Chaungyeop understood, and it seems like he even understood the basics. How could this guy even comprehend the ghostly shadow claw? Now he should fight him seriously. I guess he'll use that wooden stick now. You see, he's not a fan of fistfights. Gi Ryang doesn't even mind. Chaungyeop appeared right in front of his face and hit him with the stick. In front of him, Gi Ryang saw a butterfly, the bloody butterfly technique. Instantaneous strikes, the fury of the blood butterfly. The two of them noticed the red butterfly. The man asked which faction it belonged to. It seems that Gi Ryang is from an organization with several factions. Something could be said for sure. Unlike this man, Chaun-yeop is not a member of any of them. He doesn't even know which organization this man is a member of. But the woman he's looking for has to hide because of people like Gi Ryang. In other words, In order to find, he needs to either destroy this organization or any other organization he thinks he's involved in. If he wants to kill Chaungyeop, he'd better send someone stronger. He doesn't have time to babysit this man. He couldn't stand this arrogance and immediately attacked him from the back. However, it was as if the guy had expected this. He attacked him with his wand. That caused him to fly backwards. People like this man think the world revolves around them. It's hard for them to admit that there's someone higher than themselves. Only losing can bring them back to reality. Han Pil suggested that they just kill the man. However, in that case, the others will start attacking stealthily. That jerk will obviously travel the world to find that woman. If an expert of this level is behind this, then the others will come in droves. Han Pil is actually one of the top 100 masters of the heightened sensitivity technique. His deduction is better than Chaungyeop's. He thought about it when he heard about the hypersensitivity technique. It was as if the guy knew about it. Han Pil wondered if he knew such a technique. The hypersensitivity technique is used by her. It could be said that he had already met her. As it turned out, the righteous one had already come. The medicine she asked for last time was brought. Thanks to Yuju's efforts, his father's condition had improved. It's really nothing compared to what he's done for the village. Chaungyeop's plan worked after all. She's being praised here and there. Han Pil actually thought that person would win. Wasn't Chaungyeop surprised that the opponent was hitting harder than he expected? Winning wasn't everything. He should start with the Phalaenopsis technique next time. The protagonist asked what that technique was. It's not the Phalaenopsis technique, but the blood spiral technique. Anyway, he should fight with a sword properly next time. To demonstrate the full power of the blood spiral technique, the sword he wielded now wasn't enough. That guy, he would have defeated them with his bare hands. However, there was no telling how hard he would be hit by opponents. Therefore, he decided to go to the armory. After all, he needed a new sword. He went around the different weapon shops looking for that very sword. Suddenly he noticed another entrance. Could this be part of the store too? Chaungyeop decided to go in there. He looked at the weapons that were lying on the table. What was the weapon that was supposed to be the best? It wasn't bad, but something was missing. A man approached him and asked what kind of weapon he wanted to buy. Chaungyeop replied that he was currently using a wooden stick. They did a good job with this one. Almost all of the weapons here were made by him himself, but this kid was only considering what was made on not by him. The protagonist apologized, but compared to these weapons this man made, they looked much better. It was really hard for him to explain it. They were made by his son. Only those who knew Byung-gi could find the differences. Chaungyeop asked where his son was now. He had gone mad with love, dropped his hammer, and ran away. Of course, the man hoped he was doing well, but considering his character, that was not something to hope for. His son has outstanding abilities, so Chaungyeop was sure that wherever he was, he would be fine. Right now, he might be chained up in some crypt again, picking up a hammer, if he was still alive. If afterward he asked what the young man was looking for. Chaungyeop wants a sword that could withstand flexible fluttering movements. Such a weapon does exist. The protagonist asked if it could even be called a sword. The salesman replied that it has pierced many people after spinning aimlessly in the air. That's really what it is. Chaungyeop asked how much he wants for this sword. Let him just take it. He hadn't had a heart-to-heart talk with anyone in a long time. He thanked this grandfather. Chaungyeop has a premonition that one day he will meet the creator of this sword. When the time comes, he will definitely repay him. After that, he decided to try it out in action. Eiju noticed that it was quite impressive. It's great to wield such a sword freely and even without fear. He has a beautiful sword technique. He has enough strength to break a 10-star attack. This guy is the kind of guy who hides his true feelings. Yo-hoon walked up to his sister. Yuju asked where he was. Yo-hoon replied that he was out. Probably because more people started coming. It seems to him that everything in the city has become the same as before. If it's going to be calm forever, he can't dream of anything more. As long as there are bandits and demons in the world, they can only dream of peace. However, there is still a risk that the city will be attacked. The girl suggested that we start preparing for the trip. That alcohol was amazing. Yo-ju asked if he didn't say that about every alcohol he tasted. What an amazing insight. Han Pil had seen him practicing. It looked like this butterfly guy had mastered the sword technique. He had never seen a ball handled like that, laughing and dancing. The main character disobeyed him and fought that guy with his bare hands. Now he must have finally realized how important the sword is. Han Pil hoped he'd listen to his advice from now on. And Chaungyeop didn't even think that the bear would be giving out martial arts advice to him. Yo-ju mentioned that it was time to get ready for the trip. But before that, she would like to hear a story about their skills. She would really appreciate it if they shared it. The girl decided to start with the butterfly master. It was very interesting to see who she was looking for. He was picked up by a family and raised as a servant. Nothing to brag about, but it wasn't too bad. However, certain circumstances forced him to leave that family without even warning the man who had been kind to him. Even though it was late, he was still looking for that person. Hanpil asked if that person is a woman. She's a wise woman, so she's probably doing well, even without his help. Hanpil asked if there was a reason why he should help her. For the first time, he was able to look at the world through her eyes. Despite all that she had been through, she had always been very kind. What a touching story. He had one more question. Why would Master Butterfly want to learn martial arts? There's someone else he wants to defeat if they meet. It's like he feels like this person is always watching him, and it keeps him down. So Chaun-yeop better fight him, and show him what he can do. Now I can see why he won't part with his sword. Anyway, that's his story. This is where it intersects with the story of the Golden City. And now he's with them. Since he told a lot about himself, instead of calling him Master Butterfly, it's better to call him Chaun-yeop. He finally said his name. Perhaps he will remember the title of Khan Saw and stop calling him Bear. Chaun-yeop asked what else to call him. The Ghost of the Ball or the Master Sleeper. It sounds like this guy's lips will fall off if he calls him Young. If he wants to hear Hyung from an orphan, let him find his parents first. Anyway, he wanted to hear about the bear now. There's no arguing with this guy. But didn't Master Sun already tell his story? That man needs to use the restroom. He hasn't gotten this drunk in a long time. Yeju felt like that man had a strong attachment to Chaungyeop. From what he was telling her, he was looking for someone too. Yohun asked when they just had time to talk. These guys show up just when he's enjoying a drink. Yulge, Hoge, and Muge. Muge replied that the gods are favorable today. Hanpil told them to keep quiet and asked if they had figured anything out. Hoge replied that they had not found everyone. But one person is on his way to the Mudan Mountains, where the other one is still unknown. He probably hasn't come down yet. He's been on this damn search for 3 years, and still no word. He ordered Hoge to deliver this letter to the Mudan Mountains. If the man's assumption is correct, this man will show up shortly after the letter. The other will surely come from Anhui province. They should keep an eye on him. Muge asked if this young man who was with him was not the one they were looking for. He looked capable. It's not him. He is looking for a Shaolin master. His strength cannot be underestimated. His feats are legendary. I'm ashamed to admit it. But he would never tangle with Hanpil or them. In this crazy world of martial arts. One day he may become the enemy. Don't let them forget this. They can only face him face to face, all together. Pretty interesting news. Guy Ryang, who only recognizes the problem after a direct confrontation, and he also knocked out of the missions. He suffered serious physical and mental wounds after the duel, so now he's gone into closed training to recover. Sochon Alliance. Martial arts expert Ham Jin-gyun. All of his fingertips are mangled and his nails are broken. And this is the kind of professional he encountered in the Hanam. Is this really what he's supposed to believe? Is there even a place in today's martial arts world where skilled experts are hired to eliminate tough opponents? Ji Ryang is researching his opponent, so that no one will meet him again until Gi Ryang destroys him. Thinking of escaping the threat of the alliance, he must act precisely. He ordered to send 3 northern forest demons. Is it really necessary to send all 3 of them? One failure was enough. The cost of one mistake would be too high. Could it be that by failure, he means the wedding of the Salt family? That's right. Because of that wedding, he had become the laughingstock of the entire alliance. Was he really going to marry a girl from a family of such low status? It's true. She was the first to introduce him to the word failure. Her name was Seol-Soo Young. Jin Kyung will find her to pay for everything. If he really thought that, then could there even be any doubt about sending all the demons at once? Carelessness has made Gi Ryang like this. He believes that Gi Gyun won't mess up his plans. That Gi Ryang actually deserved it. The Nameless Master does too. The current head of the Sochon Martial Arts Alliance. Yayul Sa-an. He drank the water. Of course, after such an eventful evening, he would have a hangover in the morning. Chaungyeop told him to finally pull himself together. He grabbed the first thing the head offered and started praising it. Like that monster. Who knows who else they might even meet. There was a Yulge hiding there. Hanpil didn't understand why that jerk was here again. In that case, they should get rid of the people from the Blue Dragon Bureau. Even after drinking, he's still thinking straight. After which, he told the guy to go first, and his stomach churned. Han Pil asked where the others had gone and why he was all steamed up. Meeting like this, in broad daylight, Chaungyeop would definitely notice something. The man explained that it was urgent. One of the people that Master is looking for is on his way here. He is being pursued by the Black Assassins from the Black Assassins. Han Pil didn't understand why them specifically if there were so many assassins in the world. After 3 years of waiting, he would surely cause trouble. This wench needs an eye on her. Han Pil must rescue her now. There were indeed several assassins following her. This is so annoying. One stupid mistake and now the chase. Whatever happened to her after she left? 10 days ago. This is delicious. And yet there are tastes beyond jerky kabini. The man took the sword that belonged to her, speaking of how magnificent it was. How strange. It's like inviting a dung beetle to the table. He was curious to know where she had gotten such a valuable item. What an annoying insect to have planted on her, only spoiling the impression of the meal. She took back her sword, making a point of saying that it wasn't meant for such scum. If he wants to pretend to know martial arts, at least let him take off his gold ring. This girl is clearly a death wish. Of course, dealing with such a jerk was no problem for her. His pants fell down. The girl asked why pretend to be balanced at all. He wasn't even worth looking at. Did rich people always hire assassins like this? Her childhood was spent in the mountains. She just wants to see the big world. Instead of running away the best, kill them all at once. Suddenly she notices that there is someone here too. It's clearly an ordinary resident who doesn't know martial arts. Are they really willing to use even ordinary passers-by just to kill her? She told that grandfather to stay away from her, but it wasn't what she thought at first. That grandfather was also one of the assassins. At this moment, Chaun-yeop joined in the battle. He is skillful with a sword. He seems to know martial arts. This is intriguing. The girl asked who he even was. Only another assassin wanted to attack him, as he immediately dealt with him with his sword. The others, when they saw this sight, started to run away. This guy's clearly a professional. He was able to kill an assassin with a single blow. If this continued, they would be at a disadvantage, so they should retreat immediately. At this moment, he ran into Han Pil, after which the assassin was thrown back. Han Pil asked what this guy was even doing here. Chaungyeop replied that he was acting suspiciously, so he decided to follow him. That's nonsense, since he's not stupid enough to not notice the tail behind him. Chaungyeop just happened to be here earlier and decided to wait. Isn't that nonsense? Meanwhile, she asked who those two were. Chaungyeop replied that they could talk. They weren't going to be disturbed by him. The guy decided to look around for now. She didn't understand his behavior at all. Han Pil said to ignore it. After all, he's always like this. He decided to ask directly. He wanted to know if she had the same pendant. As it turned out, she had one too. The girl asked if the sword guy had the same pendant. Han Pil replied that he didn't. He even wondered how he should explain it. At the same time, the main character was busy chasing. She pulled out a hidden weapon that held a bundle on her head. This weapon left a scratch on his face. However, the guy managed to grab it. After which, he plunged that weapon back into the girl. Now Chaungyeop was very curious to know where this weapon came from. And it had better tell him everything quickly. Where is the creator of these invisible needles in the first place? She pretended not to understand what it was all about. Shounen. She must have seen the main character's engraved sword, right? The person whose name he had just called out had also made that sword. Chaungyeop promised his father that he would find his missing son, and he feels that he had a hand in that weapon. The protagonist will let her go if she tells him where Chaungyeop is. She only smiled in talking about how this brainless dumbass won't spend his whole life in a dungeon with a hammer. It turns out she kidnapped this man. Her brother and grandfather died today at the hands of Chaungyeop. Black assassins will hunt this guy even in hell. After that, she decided to kill herself. Those guys were her family. She dares to say such a thing when she herself stole someone else's son. Han Pil asked if he had taken care of the escaped black killers. He didn't understand at all why it bothered him so much. It doesn't even concern him. Chaungyeop replied that it was personal. It's more important to find out who she is right now. Han Pil replied that she was his sister. He heard that she was in trouble trying to find him, so he came here. This girl's name is Seo-gyu. She thanked me for my help. It turns out she's from Gabang too. Young asked if she looks like some kind of beggar. Chaungyeop asked because her brother looks like he's from Gabang. And why is she talking informally? You can't hide anything from this guy. After that, the three returned. Han Pil introduced his sister. She studied martial arts and doesn't know much about the world, so he asked her to take care of her. Young was pleased to meet them. Ju noticed that she looked tired, so she asked Hoon to escort her inside. He had some business to take care of now, and he might also need to go out with his sister in the future. He asked if the landlady would let her stay for a while. The girl noticed that this house was beautiful. The mansion of the famous delivery service really stands out. Yo-hoon also gave her name. If she is the master's sister, she is also very important to them. Therefore, if there's something wrong, she should report it. Since Gyo-young is more like something like an older sister, she wanted to call him Yo-hoon-ye's brother. He felt a little awkward about it, but the guy agreed. He also asked the head if his sister could participate in the transportation security mission. A capable master like her would also come in handy. Since Han Pil would vouch for her, she was fine with it. The man had already talked to her this afternoon while they were on their way here. There's a problem. His sister is being pursued by assassins. Moreover, she defeated one of the top Blue Dragon experts. That they will come for revenge is only a matter of time. That's why he's worried about the safety of the head. And since their mission objective is the trip itself, he doesn't want the chapter to risk itself in vain. Right now, the Golden City's transportation service is short of manpower due to the care of the refugees. If they stay in this conspicuous mansion, even the Blue Dragon won't dare to attack them. Yeoju refused. The masters helped her, so their deeds are also her deeds too. Without a head, the significance of the mission disappears. What then is a Golden City worth if its head hides behind the backs of others and shifts the responsibility of protecting it from her? She wanted to forever remember the value of this name that purifies with this mission. Her father, the previous head, had the same attitude. And now the head of the Golden City is herself, so she must be a worthy example. The purpose of this mission is also her own purpose, even though it is risky, but she is willing to die for it. But the truth of the matter is that she believes these guys won't let that outcome happen. What are they going to do now, since the head has made the decision herself? As escorts, they are obligated to obey the procession of an empty carriage, an ordinary empty wagon with the flag of the Golden City. The purpose of the journey is the chapter and those accompanying it. Once Chaun-yeop leaves the central zone, whoever decides to harm the Golden City will soon reveal themselves. Deputy Head Yo-hoon also wanted to join, but he decided to stay at the mansion to take care of his father and the refugees. Gyo-young asked her brother not to worry, as she would return safely. Han Pil wondered, and when did he ever get to be her brother? On the 5th day of the procession of the empty wagon. It had been days, and still nothing had happened. Gyeong spoke to him. Her brother told her that all Chaungyeop does is eat, sleep, and practice with his sword. The protagonist asked Ms. Seo why she's suddenly talking like that. There's that informal speech again. This guy actually calls his Nuna miss, looking her straight in the eye. He looks a year or two younger than her, after all, which means to him she's necessary. He's never had a Nuna like that, so let them just leave him alone. What a creep. Didn't he just say he wouldn't call her Nuna? Yeoju tried to stop them, not understanding why they were even acting like this. Have her tell him to stop. Shouldn't someone higher up establish a hierarchy? It can't just be left like this, especially by the time Yeoju and her brother get married. Yeoju didn't understand at all what she had just said. What kind of wedding are we even talking about? Gyo-young asked if they were dating. Every time some woman passed by the mansion, he would mutter something like, "That would look good on Lady Dream." Or perhaps he should buy something for Lady Sleep. Gyo-young realized that she was trying to express her feelings on the matter in all the obvious ways. Yeoju didn't understand what the girl was even talking about. Han Pil wondered, and why this pain in the ass was talking nonsense again. Suddenly he stopped the cart. The protagonist wondered what was wrong. Looks like those guys finally showed up. The rascals are on the road. Gyo-yeon asked her brother what's going on. The man said there were 3 bandits blocking the wagon's path. It doesn't sound like they were sent by the Black Assassins either. What was funny to hear was that they were comparing them to second-rate hornets. It was even disappointing. Just look at those kids. Looks like they've been out of the world for too long. He has no intention of messing with the rats. If they give up the chapter, they'll be released. Just when he wanted to reply something, he was immediately attacked by an enemy. She began to worry about her brother. You could tell from their martial arts alone that they were unusual bandits. He should do something about it. The old man managed to duck from that ball lunge. After which, the man raised his sword upwards to deliver another blow to him. He managed to bounce back from that one as well. He recognized that this guy was clearly not a bad guy. Han Pil already knew who he was, the Demon Lord of Withered Trees. An old legend that was already 10 or 20 years old, but it was still very famous. The man didn't expect to encounter such a lord in a place like this at all. This man is so young but still knows his name. The Demon Lord of the Withered Trees. Den Sun Lag. The Demon Lord of Withered Trees attacked the man. but the man managed to repel its attack with his sword. It seemed that Han Pil was not inferior to this demon at all. Gyo Yeon felt that they should intervene. However, the protagonist replied that they shouldn't do it now. They would only enter the battle when others did the same. Chaungyeop offered that he believed that he could handle it, and concentrated on protecting the chapter and the wagon. It's obvious that they are in cahoots with that group of attackers. They may be able to turn those bandits against the Blue Dragon. They're the ones that Chaungyeop was looking for, the instigators of all this. It's quite amusing. It's just a pity that he got entangled with a woman from a poor organization with such skills. He was even willing to personally make her suffer before he killed her. He'd respected the old bastard at first, but now he'd crossed the line. He would make him just a pile of kindling. The withered tree demon managed to jump back from this blow, but at the same moment, Han Pil attacked him again. However, his opponent was already above him. Only the demon lord of withered trees wanted to kill this man. Chaun-yeop intervened in the fight. He shouldn't let his anger get the better of him. That old man is so stupid. Den Sunlag died too stupidly. As soon as this guy just showed up, they immediately recognized him. He's the one who broke Kwak Gi Ryang's fingernail. A friendly smile, Wangahu. A demonic palm of crimson flame. Chok Pal Gay. The two of them threw themselves into the attack. Chaungyeop ordered them to defend the wagon. These bandits won't miss the chance to kill the head. If anyone approaches the wagon, they should attack all at once. Chaungyeop was able to repel this opponent's strike with his weapon. A benevolent smile was already beside him, telling this kid to be careful. The protagonist had to fight against two at once at the same time. Seeing all of this, she simply couldn't help but intervene. The unrivaled Chaungyeop can handle two masters alone. If she interfered, it would scare them even more. The brother most suited to be Yeoju's bodyguard. Han Pil asks if she really wants to help him. Chaungyeop helped her first, so she should return the favor. Gyo Yeon used the art of cloud ladder. The girl also asked that he ensure the safety of the head. Now he had witnessed the art of cloud ladder with his own eyes. At the same time, he was also dodging the impact of a benevolent smile. The demonic palm also wanted to attack the guy. This strike was able to be taken by Gyu Young. She offered to fight together. They need to finish this quickly and continue their expedition. He demanded that this girl should not interfere with their battle. She told him to just get lost. Chaungyeop replied that she should go backwards since they need to guard the wagon. Gyo Young mentioned that he was the one who saved her first. She doesn't like to stay in debt. That's what youth is all about. It's the first time they've met someone in a decade, after all. Shouldn't they be nicer to them? The other old man replied that those kids were in trouble. The benevolent smile laughed. For this grandfather is very fiery. He dotes on kids like these two. Someone will enjoy the feast today, savoring every bite. The protagonist guessed that the guy with the broken fingernail gave a greeting. He should be polite too. Everyone was busy with their opponent. Chaungyeop dodged the man's mace for the umpteenth time. The benevolent smile wanted to attack him again, asking where he was looking. At the same time, Chaungyeop approached his weapon with a single technique. It seemed to him that this guy was using Gal Min Hyuk's technique. Judging from the look on his face, one could tell that he recognized it. He showed how to use it against monsters like this person. It was very interesting. She was also confronting this man's paw. The demonic palm, of course, wanted to turn her into ashes. She managed to dodge in time to avoid that blow. She seemed to be pretty good at dodging attacks. He even had to admit that she was quite talented, but it was noticeable that she was also having a hard time resisting him. At this moment, a sword hit near his feet. It was Han Pil. They were advancing towards the wagon, so he decided to tie his legs together so that he couldn't move. Now his opponent was Han Pil. Han Pil couldn't accept being pushed by this technique. Something had to be done about it. The demonic palm was pushed back. However, he certainly didn't think of giving up so easily. He agreed to fight this person using all of his strength. The demonic palm used red flames. He had to block the flow of fire with his sword. This fire of hers, corpse by corpse, burned his clothes, leaving burns on his skin. She has to gather her strength and cut with one blow. To do so, the girl used the art of cloud ladder. Lastly, he said that the damn shaman raised a strange person. Gyu Young didn't realize at all what that just was. Who is it that he's calling strange? Han Pil immediately asked his sister if she was okay. The girl replied that she was fine. Yu-ju got off the wagon. She hoped no one was hurt. Only then did she see Han Pil walk up to her sister. As soon as she saw the burns on his fingers, she immediately gave herself away. A benevolent smile immediately reacted as soon as she heard the head's voice. Finally, she came out. He immediately left his opponent behind and ran towards her. Han Pil tried to make it in time to stop him. However, that old man was already too close to her. Fortunately, the protagonist had time to stop the weapon with his flexible sword. He used a bloody spiral, the first technique, the dance of the blood spiral. Thanks to this, he was able to strike the old man before he could deliver the final blow. It's hard to accept that kids like that can stand up to him. The world had become a spectacle. However, they still wouldn't be able to defeat him that way. The main character intervened in his monologue. Chaungyeop reminded that he was the one who was his opponent. The benevolent smile only constantly laughed like a madman. Chaungyeop couldn't believe that it was the old man who was still fighting, even after he had used the blood spiral dance technique. Benevolent Smile decided to show this kid his cooling crescent moon needle. He wouldn't die like this. Even though he managed to dodge this attack, some of his hair was cut off. It looked like there was nothing left for him to do, but aim the old man directly at his heart. He decided to use the rotational force inversely. He attacked his weapon while asking about where he was going. At the same time, the old man saw butterflies. A bloody spiral. Second technique, blood spiral vortex. With this technique, he was able to strip that old man of his arm. This was the perfect moment to attack. Chaun-yeop attacked everything and didn't even give him a moment to catch his breath. Benevolent Smile didn't understand what these red butterflies were at all. He was already starting to get fed up with this bastard. It was as if his movements resembled a dance. At the same time, he was about to use another blood spiral. The third technique, a petal-spreading bloody spiral. His weapon was broken. The old man admitted that it was very impressive. He didn't think he'd be gone so soon. But he would definitely not go alone. He released the spikes from his mace, and the protagonist had to use his weapon to defend himself. The spikes flew or also towards them, so the hand saw had to fend them off too. Some of the spikes hit the trees. It was a destructive force. It was the end. It was the old man who was forced to fend for himself. Yeoju immediately asked if she was okay. Gyo-young replied to her sister that she was fine. That was the end of it. At the same time, Chaungyeop was thinking about the fact that it wasn't enough. He must become even stronger. This was hurting her. The guy asked to be patient for a while. This was actually his first time doing such a thing. Gyeongyeon asked what sect he was even from. Hanpil mentioned that they were fine, so the young lady shouldn't blame herself. They were prepared for something like this. These three old demons are known as the demons of the northern forest. It won't be easy to send someone of this level after them in the near future, so they can rest. He heard the sound of a wagon. There seemed to be two of them. This was not the Bureau's emblem. Could they really be from the Blue Dragon Bureau, that brother we talked about? Hanpil replied that it was different. Judging from their behavior, they are not their enemies. Perhaps they are from the other bureau and came in response to the news about the Golden City. Hanpil told him to stop. They are the messengers of the Golden City Transportation Service. For security reasons, these guys have to confirm their identity. Of course, they are the Golden City Transportation Service. He and the Luyan came because of the news. The man wanted to see the head. Just then, Yuju's dream came to his eyes. The girl immediately recognized them. She was happy to see them. It was Uncle Samgwan Jingle and Juryong. Hanpil asked if by any chance they were from Hanam. Juryong was happy to see her little sister. It seemed like it had been 5 years since their last meeting. Samgwan Jingle, the named brother of Sunil-san, the head of the Golden City's Transportation Service. Jinju Ryong, the eldest daughter of the Dead Sea Bureau. They have no idea how much she missed her all this time. They were looking for a carriage even in the Dead Sea Bureau. Dead Sea Bureau, one of the 3 services of Hanam that is on par with the Golden City and the Blue Dragon. Being aware of the fact that the Golden City is undergoing difficulties, Yeoju sent Ju Ryung, whom she knows well as a few lucky people to meet them. She doesn't know what they decide to do with the Golden City, but Dad insists on going home. So Ju Ryung offers to go along with them. It's been so long since they've seen each other. It's really worth going. Now Jingol wanted to know what had happened while they were gone. It seems like the Golden City had made some friends. After that, Yeoju decided to tell them what had happened during all this time. It was clear that they had been through a lot. Due to certain circumstances, he too had to leave his position as the head of the service. He had always regretted it. If he had stayed, he would have lightened Ilsan's burden and helped Yeoju with everything. Even though it was too late, he wanted to help at least for now. He would go to the Golden City right now and find Ilsan. If he's with his father, then Yeoju can continue on your way with peace of mind. That's not true. Jingol means he'll calm Hyung down and come back. It's better to go to the Dead Sea. He won't leave her from now on. She asked her uncle not to worry about her. It's better to instead let him help Yo-hoon, who stayed at the mansion. She thinks it's very hectic to look after both the refugees and her sick father. She's accompanied by some amazing masters, so she'll definitely be fine. Their skills are second to none. Therefore, Uncle can definitely not worry. She also asked that Uncle say hello to her father. Could it be that this guy is also a master? He actually looks younger than Yeo-hoon. The other two look experienced, but they stink so bad. They don't look like typical attendants. It was surprising, but if she trusted them that much, he should believe him. Jingol agreed. She should carefully consider her every move in his absence. There's no need to worry. Ju Ryong and Yeoju would return to the Loyang safely. Father and her older brother will meet them well. The boy wondered why they were following him. He finally decided to speak up. Jin Yutak, the eldest son of the Dead Sea Bureau. Yutak asked if he was in cahoots with those who slander the Dead Sea. The stranger in the hat asked him not to jump to conclusions. In any case, he needs to rearrange this guy with his elders today. What kind of elders are we talking about now? Anyway, time to end the conversation there. This stranger respects the descendants of well-established families, so he decided to give the first move to Yutaka. The leadership has ordered that this be handled quietly. The determination of the head of the Dead Sea is matched by his stubbornness. That can't be underestimated. Zhou Jie-shin, head of the Blue Flag Association, Black Turtle Pavilion. Jie-shin would prefer to use more proactive methods rather than this backstabbing tactic. A subordinate said that it was reported that Chandal Hua managed to kidnap the Bureau's eldest son, Dead Sea. Mok Dai-min, a member of the Blue Flag Association, Black Turtle Pavilion. He took advantage of the moment when Jin Yutak was leaving early this morning. That's what you'd expect from a Chandal Hua. He's heard that this guy is a good master. That title is justified by his actions. It's a pity that someone who occupies a position too far from the head can't join the Blue Flag Association. Daemin mentioned that this time they will negotiate with the Dead Sea with a valuable hostage. When his son's life was at stake, he wouldn't be able to refuse them. However, Dae-shin felt that they couldn't resort to threats. Since they have gone this far, the conclusion should be clear. He doesn't know what tactics he prefers, but it's best not to provoke them too much. He heard the Lord. The Bureau is a Dead Sea. They've finally arrived. Father will meet them. Yuju has to greet them first and introduce them all, so it's better for the boys to wait. It's been a long time since they've met in a house like this. The girls noticed that for some reason it was too lively inside. The subordinates ran past them. Ju Ryong asked what was wrong. The man noticed that his daughter had finally arrived with Yuju. Jin Sanggong, the owner of the Dead Sea Bureau. Sanggong reported that her older brother was missing. Yu Ryong asked what that meant. He left early in the morning and said he would prepare for his sister's arrival. But no one has seen him since then. Considering the situation in the country, the string of horrible events continues. This seems to be happening to the Bureau as well. The man asked what she meant. Yuju told him that this has happened to them too. During transportation, they were either attacked by bandits or goods were stolen. Even the mansion was attacked once, and now what's happening here now? It's all obviously the work of the same people. And that's a big problem. It seems like the situation here isn't much different from the one in the Golden City right now. The girl asks if it's normal to be so poor when you work for the Bureau. Han Peel has a lot of things to tell her. While the two stood guarding the gate, they noticed someone approaching them. It was Dai Min. The man asked what brought him here, and he asked to arrange a meeting with their lord. He had come on business that was related to his son. The man did come to talk about his son. He had disappeared last night, but still the man didn't understand what this had to do with him. His lordship had made the heir whom Demeen serves overcome great hardships. As someone inferior, he must appease the anger of his master whom he serves. His lordship is in a position where even a terrible event would not be a surprise. He, too, is deeply puzzled that he might commit suicide, which is why he came here for a solution. This is infuriating. This man is trying to accuse the Sangon and tarnish his own son's honor by using this tale. If the Sangon defends Shin, he will use force. If he can meet their demands, then there is nothing to fear, for he will get his children back. But right now, he can't do anything about this blackmailer. If the man gives the estate to them, his son's life and reputation will be safe. Is that what he means to say? He asked for time to think it over. Of course Damon will wait. He hopes the man will make the right decision and his son won't have to worry about him. They'll offer a fair fee. And if he has a hard time sleeping because of this offer today, he will explain the man's situation to his higher-ups, so that they will offer a higher fee. That's crazy. Yutak wouldn't do that. There must be a way to expose the truth. They have to save their brother. That's exactly what these people want. If the Dead Bureau uses force, they will only jeopardize Yutaka's life. There was nothing left for her to do but swallow it. The most important thing was that her family was okay, and they could still find a new home. Chaun-yeop walked in there and said to draw up a contract. If he came back to ask for a contract, they should tell him to bring his son to the specified place first. He would agree. He would not suspect anything, and he also asked for permission to escort them to that place. Sang-gong thought that this was absurd. This was not a situation he could be involved in right now. Why would he escort him to the estate deal? He himself doesn't like to interfere in other people's deals, but this might have something to do with the enemies he is pursuing. This deal could help him achieve his goals. He just mentioned it, as he thought it would help save his son. To prove his words, he decided to demonstrate his skills. Ju Ryong asked how many pieces it turned out to be. It looks like that guy was watching her technique quite closely. It's infuriating, but it's pretty impressive. Ju asked her uncle to trust her and listen to that man's advice. He's the reason the Golden City came out of the crisis. She believes he can help them too. That man will be back tomorrow night. He asked for a plan to be told, which the man will listen to carefully. All they need to do is to meet at a specified place. He asked the two men to wait until they come back. Gyo Yeon asked who else is leading. They will send 2 people. Once the contract is handed over, they should send their son to them. Seeing him send 2 escorts at once, it's safe to assume that he doesn't trust them much. They use questionable methods to get what they want, and still think he will believe them. His men will take good care of his son. She wondered why on earth the young master had taken the Konpil's sister with him specifically. Probably to retrieve the hostage. He's fast and good at navigating. Chaungyeop will return after he explores the area a little better. He'll try to find their main men. That man is a monster. Damon let his guard down, thinking there were only 2 of them. He never thought they would have such a skilled fighter in their charge. They had just led them around. It was a good thing he could fend off at least light attacks. We need to warn the boss as soon as possible. Damon decided to use a flare. Behind him, the protagonist was already behind him, and asked if he was running in the direction of his higher-ups, after which he dealt with the man. The best view from here. Looks like those higher-ups are sitting on that mountain. Need to explore after sundown. We should take the treaty with us on the road. They must have some pretty tough people up there if they're willing to pay in gold coins. All the negotiators have fallen silent, so these guys won't be hiding. He hopes Seokyo followed the plan exactly. She brought Yutaka back. Sang-gon and Juryong hugged Yutaka. As planned, she came back alone. Hanpil inquired, but what about him? Jo-young understands that the master is excited about the reunion, but they need to start preparations as well. Yu-ju wondered what her words about preparation meant. That's Chaungyeop's plan. He said that there will be an attack at night. Yutak asked if it will be an attack by his kidnappers. She doesn't know all the details, but Chaungyeop is still there. He's trying to find the kidnapper's lair. The young master is back here, and all the guys at the negotiating table have been defeated. Plus, if Chaun-yeop is there spying, they'll have no choice but to launch a full-scale attack. They had prepared themselves as well. It wouldn't be surprising if they came with reinforcements. It would be quite troublesome if guys like that Claude guy came. It was reported to him that all members of the negotiations were dead. The subordinates responded that there appeared to have been a battle at the specified location. They volunteered for the exchange. It was pretty obvious that they had planned it from the beginning. Jae Shin ordered them to gather everyone and attack the Dead Sea Bureau at night. If they're not completely brainless, they're looking for the main base right now. Therefore, they should attack before that happens. However, it was too late for that. Their base had already been found. Furthermore, he had already prepared for it. The subordinates immediately bared their weapons, inquiring about who he was. Jae Shin demanded that they just follow the order he had given earlier, because these guys really think he's gonna let them go so easily. He won't let them leave this place. Jae Shin took this blow. He shouted for these idiots not to stand on a pillar. After that, the guys ran away. The man asked if he came here alone. If this stranger reveals his motive, he'll kill him painlessly. He didn't take something into consideration, because it was Chaungyeop who would be asking the questions here. That boy is too arrogant. In that case, he'll just make him answer. Chaun-yeop was already behind him. He was very curious to see if the name Yayul Sa'an meant anything to him. He's the head after all, so he should know it. Jae Shin didn't understand how he knew about it at all. He had to attack once more. This man's martial arts skills are unusual. Execution is prioritized over interrogation. That's why he uses the Golden Thunder Fan for this. 16 transformations. But even for him, this technique was not difficult. Even if he had been practicing martial arts since birth, he still hadn't practiced it for more than 20 years. He didn't understand what kind of kid he was at all. Meanwhile, Chaun-yeop realized that this name was saying something after all. He decided to end it all in one blow. That person whose name he had recently called out was not someone he could negotiate with. Jay Shin used the Golden Thunder fan once more. The Thunder Assassin's fan. Since he didn't want to answer in a good way, he would answer in a bad way. Chaungyeop used the Bloody Butterfly technique. Second technique, Blood Butterfly Vortex. After that, they recognized the power of each other's techniques. How could he even lose to a young rookie? The protagonist said to spit out everything he knew. As he suspected, it was necessary to use force from the very beginning. He just didn't expect to meet such a master. Since that kidnapping was his idea, he would answer one question, but no more. What he was interested in was whether they knew Su Young's Salt. He had never heard that name before. She seemed to be good at hiding. He had learned everything he needed to know, so it was time to return to the Dead Sea Bureau. They were fighting too. Those assholes are good too, just like the Black Assassins. Han Pil noticed that his sister was almost surrounded. They are launching an all-out attack, and they are now surrounded. Chaun-yeop must have stirred up a hornet's nest. Suddenly, another master jumped in front of him. He told everyone to step back, for he wanted to handle this himself. It was Chan Dal-hwa. Han Pil noticed that he had the same iron claws, but this guy was much better than the last guy. He could feel it. The Dal-hwa offered to go one-on-one. That would be great, so he was fine with it. As soon as he snapped his fingers, many more kills headed towards Gyu Young. What a bunch of creeps. He was worried about his sister, but he was immediately attacked by a range of HWA. The man wondered where he thought he was going since they had agreed on a one-on-one fight. There was nothing left for him to do but fight against the bastard. He wasn't a genius, but he fought well, and he also still needed to keep an eye on his little sister. She noticed that young Master Yutaka wasn't in a good situation either, so she wanted to help him. He managed to stop the hand that was holding the blade that was about to slit his throat. Han Pil also turned his attention to Yutak. How annoying it was for everyone to see that he couldn't help and was only distracted. It was precisely because of such carelessness that he was injured. Maybe now he'll at least try to concentrate on him a little bit during the fight. We don't have to worry about them anyway. It can be explained by the fact that the Dead Sea will disappear today. Did they really originally have that many thugs? Chaun-yeop left them to sort out the matter, while he himself ran off somewhere. The man shouted out that he was quite resilient, but now it was over. At that moment, Chaun-yeop joined the fight. He dealt with the attacker in one move. Gyu Young asked. Couldn't he have shown up at least a little earlier? The creep apparently wasn't in a hurry at all. Yutaka mentioned that it was because of the young master that he was able to survive. That guy who calls the girl his sister is really good like herself. Could it be that the man who appeared is also their brother? The drawing on his forehead and iron claws did not escape the gaze of the protagonist. Judging from this person's movements, he has been in business for a long time. He recalled the Chan family warriors he had seen in the Salt family. What makes the Chan family martial arts masters are fists with dragon claws. The weapons she uses are the same. She had claws as well. Finally, this person in front of him. Chaungyeop realized that he was one of the warriors of the Chan family, and since the protagonist is not going to let him go so easily, he can attack with all his might. Now he realized that this guy knows about the Chan family. He is without a doubt the core of this faction. He has to be caught first. However, he had to defend himself as he was attacked by Han Pil. What's funny to see is that now he's not concentrating on Han Pil. The protagonist didn't want to give him an respite time either. Thanks to his weapon, he was able to wound the Dalhua. At the same time, he had to defend himself from the sword of the Khan Saw. The man began to be pushed backwards. He prepared for the next attack. Chaungyeop mentioned that he was even better than the man with the fan. This man would most likely know more than that man. Therefore, let him better tell everything he knows about Changsanmi in a nice way. The alliances west of the river. Zhang Dalhua. Dalhua wondered how he knew that name. Now you'd think their meeting wasn't a coincidence. He'll just overpower this guy and find out who he really is. Chaungyeop proposed a deal. If Dal Su wins the battle, then he can just leave. And if Chaungyeop wins, he will let the man go after he gets answers to all his questions. Han Pil also noticed that there was something different about this guy. Did it have something to do with the Chan family? This guy annoyed him, but he still agreed to the arrangement. If he wins, then the distance will answer all the questions. He must win first. After which, the two headed towards each other. Han Pil thinks he can leave this guy to Chaungyeop. After all, he needs to be useful right here. One could tell that it was as if these two were fighting as equals. Dalhua decided to attack him with his claws. Chaungyeop managed to turn away from this strike, after which he attacked with his weapon. He had no choice but to admit that his opponent was strong. However, with this kind of sword technique, he was still not a threat. He reached out with his claws directly towards the protagonist. Tho immediately began to repel them with his weapon. Dalhua still didn't stop launching new attacks. The protagonist wondered if he really thought he could win fighting like that. Overestimating oneself is a characteristic of this bloody family. Looks like it's time to retrain him. Dalhua now realized that the main character was much stronger than he first thought. Now he felt so minuscule in front of him. Chaun-yeop was using the bloody butterfly technique. He simply couldn't let this guy win. Second technique, bloody butterfly whirlwind. Everyone present paid attention to this explosion. Chaungyeop was fine, but not so much for the Dalhua. He only laughed as he realized that that guy had not reached his full potential. This was his obvious defeat. Next time, maybe he could be a worthy opponent after all. Suddenly, Chaun-yeop leaned towards him. The protagonist asked if he really believed that this next time would come. That their paths would cross again. He's too arrogant. Instead of mocking others, he's bared his sword hundreds of thousands of times in places he's never even heard of. To correct the slightest deviation from the ideal of his technique. In that case, he should probably keep the promise he made before the fight. He'd better tell me which faction he belongs to. The alliance west of the river. Black Turtle Pavilion. Their leader is Yayul Sa'an. After that, Chaungyeop wondered why he was hearing voices in his head. Could it really be telepathy? He took his sword away from his neck. Dalhua can leave, but he must deliver a message for Chang Sanmi. The revenge of an old acquaintance who hides his location is coming. At last that dreadful night was over. Utica was thankful again that they had saved his life. And now that day was drawing to a close. He was approached by Gyo-young, who offered him a drink. The protagonist asked what it was, and the girl replied that it's not poison, so let him drink it. His brother has a hole in his body with blood gushing out of it. Mrs. Yuju will be very worried, and that guy's look is too serious. Even if she's older than him, he still doesn't call her Nuna. But the truth is, she's still willing to listen to him. So Gyo-young suggested to have a drink while pouring out each other's souls. The head of the Dead Sea Bureau came to Yoju's place, because he wanted to express his gratitude. Thanks to her hard work day and night, now his bureau could still be afloat. He wanted to know where she found these people. Yoju told him that she had met them when she needed it the most. However, she should still not let her guard down. If they are such martial arts experts, they might use it against herself one day. No one knows what they have in mind. She really shouldn't say that. After all, these guys helped him. But he's just afraid that Yoju might get hurt. Uncle is really right. It's very strange of them to give this kind of help to a helpless bureau that can't even pay. But she will be loyal to them as long as they don't abandon her. When she started her expedition, they risked their lives many times to save her. So she doesn't think they are bad. Since Yoju herself trusts them, he'll trust them too. The man will just follow her example. He also inquired about her transportation plan. Yoju plans to reopen after the break, so it's not a big deal. So she'll be staying here for a while. It's also interesting to hear Uncle's opinion on transportation. He didn't even notice when she only had time to grow up. If there was anything else his opinion could help her with, then let her turn to him boldly. She remembered his words about looking for a woman. Is that really why he's so serious? Chaun-yeop asked if she had brought alcohol to question him drunk. That wasn't really the purpose. Han Pil felt that they needed to carefully get close to Chaungyeop. If it wasn't for this guy, a lot of people would have died back then. She surely must have seen how his gaze changed after Togo found out that clawed guy was from the Chaun family. Han Pil had tried to determine his faction from his sword technique and philosophy, but neither of them had heard of such a thing before. Gyu-yeon asked if there wouldn't be a problem with him, than if he wasn't a beggar. He heard that a new faction had formed in the Kamsak province. They called it the Gate of the Flying Dragon. It was formed from the union of the Kamsak family and the Seoul family. It's suspicious that two huge families have formed an alliance and are inviting experts. They need to find out what kind of relationship Chaungyeop has with this guy, who showed a particular wariness toward the Kamsak family. He didn't care if they were allies or enemies. Once the expedition was over, then she planned to move in as a family member. But somehow it was strange that she only knew of him in name. Chaungyeop asked if it was really that important. It's just that since he was an infant, he was a servant in an aristocrat's house. And when the guy felt like leaving, he went to the mountains to hone his skills. Gyo-young asked if that meant he met his master in the mountains. She was so curious to know where he learned martial arts from. Plus, it's his sword technique that's rather unique. The protagonist realized that she literally had it written all over her face. She just wants to know his lineage. Of course, she was sent by her brother. What would Su-yeon do in this situation? They say people have opinions. She's probably trying to understand others too. It's natural for them to be suspicious of him. The video origin of his technique is unknown. In fact, there is nothing special about it. He just likes to be free. Chaungyeop wants to find a way to get closer to his desired power. Since he isn't sure about the limits of his abilities or what he will do in the future, he just trains to become stronger now. Still, he thinks that trying to change like that man isn't such a bad idea. She understands her brother's intentions perfectly. However, Chaun-yeop isn't someone who would cause trouble. All that guy did was save the lives of other people he didn't even know. Basis offered him a drink. That way, they wouldn't have any secrets from each other. Chaungyeop mentioned that the person who was getting him drunk wasn't trustworthy. At least not right now. Wouldn't it be normal to trust a guy like that? Meanwhile, they were on the run. There were 5 of them in pursuit. They were all exhausted from the 5-day chase, so they only took a short break. But the man would never have thought that they would catch up to them so quickly. However, there was a cliff further on. Because of this, there was nothing left for them to do but stop. Now they were surrounded. But these guys didn't even realize that another person was watching them. The man and woman wielded their swords to defend the one that stood behind them. The one standing behind them was called Bo Hyun. Of course, she was worried about her sister and brother. The man replied that she didn't have to worry because they would protect her. Even he admitted that those bastards were too pushy. The woman asked if he was going to speak on behalf of their sect. Flying Dragon Gate. The man mentioned that she could only blame herself for her weaknesses. Is this really how their end will be? What a miserable death. The man ordered them to be killed. At this point, another participant decided to intervene. The guy inquired if they were members of the Flying Dragon enemy. They immediately turned their attention to the one who was saying that. It was none other than Subom. The man inquired who he was and why he was interfering. At this time, Subom asked what the name of the head of the Flying Dragon was. If the man didn't say anything, he would kill him. He only smiled, telling the stranger to try to do so. At the same time, Subom exposed his ball using the 7 flowing blade technique. With this, he was able to deal with 4 people with ease. Subom left only one to tell him everything. He walked right up to him and put the blade to his throat, asking once more, who was their leader? They were only minor sleuths, who only took orders from those above them. And they themselves have never seen their faces. They only know the names of the pavilion masters of Sol Sadok and Chanpil-yong. He was very familiar with those names. It was as if he knew it. According to his investigation, the Flying Dragon Gate sect was a faction that was formed by the fusion of 2 families, Sul and Chan. The man also inquired about the reason why they were attacked then. It would probably be faster to ask the people involved. Therefore, he decided to let the man go. If he came back, some would kill him. At that very second, the man immediately ran away. The man immediately thanked this stranger for saving their lives. He thanked him from the bottom of his heart. Subom replied that there was no need to thank him. It was better to move to a safer place now. As it turned out, the man's name was Sop Bo. His family is in Kamsok. Subom caught a rabbit, but there's not enough for all 4 of them. So it's better to go to the nearest inn. After that, they decided to eat. The woman looked at him. She was eternally indebted to this man, but for what reason she was uneasy. The atmosphere was so tense that it was hard to even strike up a conversation. Bo Hyang asked how he was related to the Flying Dragon Gate sect. He is not directly related to the sect, but there are some things he needs to learn. Therefore, he would be very grateful if they shared the information they have with him if they know anything. This man is their savior, so he was willing to tell everything he knows. One day in Kamsok, the Chan family and the Sol family united to found the Flying Dragon Gate faction. At that time, they declared their independence. They tried to make each family their own. The SOP family also received an invitation to join the new faction, but when they declined the offer, that faction ruthlessly attacked them. His grandfather, father, and younger brothers were killed. He and his younger sisters were the only ones left alive, Bo Hyang and Bo Yong. They would seek refuge at Uncle Songyong's house in Qinghai province, but they were captured by those assholes. The SOP family is one of the top 5 families in Kamsok province. Why would they involve such a family in the Flying Dragon Gate sect? Sop Bo asked where he himself was going. Subom replied that it was to Tsaidam. His masters are there now, so he is heading towards Qinghai province. In that case, she offered to keep them company until they reached her uncle's house. Subom heard suspicious footsteps. As soon as he heard that these people were already here, he immediately stood up. Sop Bo asked what was wrong. Subom said that those bandits had sneaked into the inn. It was better to end the meal there and leave as if nothing had happened. That way, the other guests would not be harmed. A little later, the man asked the young master where they were and why they were here. The boy replied that they would be coming out soon. As if following his words, they immediately stopped hiding. The man asked if the very person who had killed their members was here. The man replied that it was. The guy was sure it was him. It didn't seem worth talking anymore. Since this man had interfered with their work, the only thing left for him to do was to die. His mood immediately changed when he saw the iron claws for fighting. What is obvious now is that he also belongs to the Chan family, and he is as capable as they say. The man admitted that he is indeed from the Chan family and asked what he would do about it. I remember that he really hopes he can handle them, even though he is one and there are 3 of them. So they're really from the Chan family in Kamsuk province. He said this guy seemed to use a sword. That's different. It was an all-consuming power. They were anxiously watching everything that was happening. And the girl covered her little sister. Now this man was deeply wounded. Now it was time to deal with the others. Of course, Susbaum remembered the man. After all, he had warned the boy that if he showed his face one more time, he would die. Everyone in the Chan family is the same. Even in a world where there is good and evil, it is merciless to spare an ungrateful, despicable person. What happened to them is completely their fault. Sapbo didn't understand at all where this person got so much resentment for living like this. He wouldn't let anyone live. The guy used the Asura Sutra, Asura devouring annihilation. These guys didn't even have a chance of escaping from such a terrifying technique. Subam knew exactly what kind of martial art it was. It was the form of a demon. Even his outward appearance resembled a demon. This guy is the truest demon. Under the current circumstances, it would be difficult to revive the Bureau. Besides, they don't have enough funds. He didn't understand what he should do at all. Chaungyeop walked in and asked him what he was so worried about. The man asked the young master if something was wrong. The service head was also facing such a dilemma, so he came here to see everything. It looked like he had made this child worry. The man asked me to tell her not to worry too much. Chaun-yeop will do that. After which he pulled the receipt over to him. It was already 10,000 for today. He was willing to lend that amount. In return, he asked for a written promise from the head of the sleep service. If he could calculate it at the interest rate of the elite loyalist market, then Chaun-yeop would be very grateful. That is, after the completion of the expedition. Since this is the budget to restore the transportation service of the Golden City. The man asked where he got so much money from. Chaungyeop told him that he had taken this money from those who kidnapped the third master. Since those guys had gone to the other world, they didn't need the money anymore. He felt it when that young man saved Yutaka. But he's really a brave man. Moreover, this will also help the Golden City. With people like this young man, the prosperity of this place is only a matter of time. The man handed over a written promise to the Dreamhead. In that case, Chaun-yeop will go. He mentally turned to Ilsun, saying that it looked like he had nothing else to worry about. A few days later, celebrating the 80th birthday of Master Namgung Sunyu, the chief elder of the Namgung family. When they heard the news of the discovery, they went to the Loyang for both rest and relaxation. Yeoju asked to enjoy as much as she wanted. Gyo-young thanked her little sister. In fact, she should be the one thanking them. In fact, there really are a lot of people here. After all, it's the whole Namgung family's holiday. Hanpil noticed that it was as if they were being followed. The protagonist asks the bear if he knows these guys. They're watching pretty closely. Hanpil noticed it too. They might be survivors. The way these guys emit a strange aura. They are clearly unlike the usual provocateurs. There are roughly 3 of them. Hanpil didn't understand where they even came from this time. It seems like a lot of people have a grudge against them. Perhaps they're from the Sochon Alliance, or perhaps they're actually disguised members of the Black Veil who went quiet for a while. Jo-young also had to pay attention to the disguised people. If their target was Yeoju, they would have attacked at an intersection, not a place where there were many people. She almost died last time when one of the assassins disguised himself as an ordinary citizen. It's definitely a Black Veil now. In that case, they should strike first. Right now, everyone except little sister should pretend to switch places. If they attack her, it's the Black Veil, and if they don't, it's the Sochon Alliance. The head of the service should also stand up for a moment. However, she had other thoughts on the matter. She just decided to kill those persistent bastards. Gyo-young immediately swooped down on them. Those guys immediately started defending themselves, and the eyes of the protagonist certainly didn't overlook that very needle. After all, it was what he had seen last time. He immediately stood in front of Gyu-yeon as well, and also told the girl to stop. Chaungyeop told her that these were not easy people. Gyo-young asked him how he even knew that. Only then did she see the pendant she had around her neck. That symbol was a sign. The protagonist asked who they were and why they were following them. The stranger asked if they could discuss this elsewhere. She was willing to explain everything. This girl's name is Tang Yuhua. the head of the Tang family of Sichuan province, the niece of Tang Chong-yi, and standing next to her was Tang Gi-chul, the Tang family of Sichuan province, a bloodline that excelled in the creation and use of poisons as well as antidotes. This family is capable of destroying hundreds of people with a single drop of poison and sending opponents to the underworld with needles thinner than a strand of hair. Their expertise in the production and use of poison and antidotes is unrivaled. It also leaves no room for comparison. Hanpil asked why the Tang family from Sichuan province needed them. As it turns out, they don't need these guys specifically. They are just waiting for the Black Veil. When Hanpil asked why, she immediately said that she couldn't tell. She was just following them after they got the information that the Black Veil was targeting this group. Yuju asked if they would continue to keep following them until the Black Veil showed up. Yua apologized, but that was the plan. At that moment, the protagonist asked to look at his weapon. This sword was familiar to her. It looked similar to the amulet she had dropped earlier. These things seemed to be made by the same craftsman. She too wanted to find the one who made them. If truth be told, he's looking for a maker himself. If Tong Yua clarifies the situation, they can work together. Since he put it all out straight like that, there was no point in hiding it anymore. She asked for a promise that they won't tell anyone about it. The Tan family has a creature amulet that they have been trying to complete for a long time. It is a long-time wish and regret of the family. However, recently there was a glimmer of hope when she saw the Black Veil amulet. They thought that if it was the creator of the amulet, perhaps he could dispel their regret. She was able to find out that the creator of this amulet was none other than Zhongli Jechon. It turns out that she is also looking for this person that created the Black Veil amulet. If Zhongli Jechon was making the amulet for the family, then she believes that he could be an important figure in the Tang family in Sichuan province. Yuju inquired about what she intended to do. There Yuhua knew that it might be a little wrong to follow them around for nothing. Gyo-young suggested that they just go together. After all, she had already said that meeting him was a long-time wish of her family. So the girl offered to take the carriage and go together. Yua asked if that would be okay. Gyo-young turned to her little sister, saying that it was okay. Because of those entreaties, she herself started to think that maybe it really was better than secret surveillance. In any case, that's what she decided to do. However, the Tan family didn't have to attend the Namgung family's celebration, although he heard that it was a very important event. This mission is really more important to them. So her uncle, the head of the family, her grandfather, and the elder went to the feast. Even the head of the family elder went to this celebration. Hanpil wondered if it was common for elders to gather for simple feasts. That wasn't really the point. It was said that they would be there to discuss the establishment of a new sect called the Flying Dragon Gate. It's a sect that unites the Chol and Chang families of Kamsok province. After all, these two families have been united into one. That only proves one thing. In the end, Jiang Sanmi was still able to take full control of the Chol family. A dog Nagong approached the man, the deputy head of the Black Veil. Nagong inquired if the lightning arrow was complete. The lightning arrow is similar to a normal lightning strike, a crossbow arrow that strikes the target with tremendous force. If you combine all of this with the explosive powder that is sprayed on the tip, it immediately explodes as soon as it reaches the target. It took a technical expert to build a weapon of this caliber. So he got this guy, a pathetic kid who came here chasing a woman. He only asked what Gyumran was doing, and he can't even say that Gyumran died back then, so the man had to lie about her being on a mission. Gyumran took the weapon he made with her. She said that she really liked the weapon he had crafted, and that she was waiting for the completion of the lightning arrow. Zhongli Jekun asked her to wait another 10 days. That's right, let him just keep making weapons for them. And once the lightning arrow is ready, then he will deal with these guys himself. And this guy only took one last glance at the departing man. He had his own thoughts on the matter. Tang Yuzhua and Tang Gi-chul introduced themselves. It was a pleasure to meet them. Jin Sang-gong introduced himself. He didn't think he would see with his own eyes someone from the very Tang family of Sichuan province. Jin Yutak introduced himself as well. Such distinguished guests had visited the Dead Sea Bureau. Something good would definitely happen to him in the near future. The man offered to continue the conversation inside. But before that, Yuhua wanted to talk to the protagonist. Perhaps he already knew from the beginning that he was being held in a black veil. But that wasn't really the point. He just heard it from the elderly man who gave him that sword, and assumed that his son would be held hostage by the Black Veil. Chaun-yeop promised that he would repay him for the sword. So he wants to repay his father by saving his son. Then what will he do if they suddenly take the man away by force? Chaungyeop asked if he really intends to do that. If it's for the good of the family, then she will do even that. However, the guy doesn't think the young mistress is that type of person. Yuhua asked why he is so sure. Throughout life, and we have met many different kinds of people. You could see all kinds of emotions in their eyes. Passion, desire, despair, contempt, sadness, fear, relief, and anxiety. Many emotions could be read in a gaze. However, in the young mistress's gaze, he sees a desire to defend a part of the family and a slight fear of uncertainty that everything will end well. Such people usually avoid serious problems and always act cautiously. The head of the bureau is the same. However, if such a situation arises, he will keep his word. He has honest eyes, and such a person cannot be deceived. In that case, will he let that person follow him if he chooses to do so? As long as they don't force him to take him with them by deception, the girl would keep that in mind. After talking, they went back to the others. Gyo-young inquired about what they talked about in private. Tang Yuhua replied that it was a secret. Since she was talking to this particular guy, Gyo-young doubted it was anything suspicious. Yuhua remarked that she trusted him. It also came out that Chaun-yeop will help make the name of the Golden City's transportation service famous. She just trusts him as a colleague. The next day, it was chilly outside. She was already even thinking about the fact that she had overdrunk last night. She noticed a small group and remembered that they said they would be recruiting volunteers. Even now, there was already such a group recruited. Just then, she noticed Chaungyeop along with Yuhua. They were chatting happily about something. What kind of weird outfit is that anyway? What's that bastard's plan this time? The deputy chief was testing out a new weapon. He really liked it. A subordinate reported the news that their intelligence had successfully infiltrated the enemy bureau. In that case, it was time for the hunt. A few days later, he can even see his own steam from his mouth. The cold weather seems to have set in. He also noticed that his sister was thinking about something. So he inquired about what was wrong with her. She actually felt like Chaungyeop was up to something with the Dan twins. He doesn't allow them to approach and doesn't say anything himself. Then all of a sudden he suddenly asks for help to set up an ambush for the Black Veil. Isn't that enough to get him the death penalty? When it's over, she tries to find out what happened. And then the person they were talking about came in, inquiring about what exactly she had heard. It was Chaungyeop. He had told these two to be the bait after all, so he didn't understand why they were here. Gyo-young thought that maybe that would get more attention that way. It seems dealing with the Black Veil is quite difficult. Suddenly he smelled a scent that he could recognize from 1,000 miles away. She thought right. One way or another, they are already here. Han Pil asked his sister which side she was choosing. Gyo-young replied that it was the left side. In that case, he'll take the right side. So far, everything is going according to plan. Perhaps now he could try something. He was getting rid of the attackers more and more. Because of this, only single screams could be heard. Gyo-yeon and Han Pil acted according to his example. Han Pil also noticed that this guy's skills seemed to have improved once again. It was only then that the girl noticed the very volunteers they had recruited recently. Gyo-young asked if he knew about it, and what was going on here in the first place. Chaungyeop replied that he did know. He also noticed the arrows flying at him, so he quickly jumped away from that place. If hit, they exploded. Gyo-young immediately asked if he was okay. What a shame. His attack shouldn't have gone to waste. Later, whether this man is their leader. This weapon could cause trouble. The protagonist wondered if this was the doc on the Black Veil goon. He was impressed that this guy doesn't know about him. It was actually very easy to get information about this man. As soon as the man thought of attacking him, so Chaun-yeop immediately used his weapon to start slashing his arrows. The man had to step back a bit. The man was even hurt by this weapon. He didn't understand what it was at all. After that, he had to make a smokescreen. Han Pil didn't understand where that jerk had gone either. Chaungyeop replied that they couldn't have gotten far. Gyo-young suggested that they go together. That man didn't just run away. If he's hiding in the mansion, it means he's seeking refuge. But he doesn't know yet that he'll have a hard time there too. Those things were even waiting for him here. When he noticed that those two were already here as well, he didn't even think that he would have to use it in a place like this. However, Naguna has no choice. It could be very effective against a large number of people. It was better to use it in case of danger. The man shouted that he would send them all to the other world at once. Why did they even think they would be able to leave unharmed after dishonoring the Black Veil? What arrogant fools they are. He even decided to start with the main character since he had injured him, and then move on to his cronies. Now all those bastards would disappear. There was an explosion. However, the result of this explosion was not at all what he had hoped for. The man lost his arm because of it. What's going on? That captured blacksmith said it was an unrivaled weapon. There's no way he could have found out about Gyum-ran. But if that was true, then he had given him such a weapon for a reason. He cursed that fucking scum. How dare that person even dare to do such a thing? In a fit of rage, he didn't even have time to do anything before he was immediately wounded by Chaun-yeop with his technique. The man fled as well, unable to understand how this could have happened. It was simply impossible for things to come out this way. Everything happened because of that bastard Jejong. After all, he had purposely made a weapon that destroys itself. The man was serious about killing that bastard. He even promised to do so. Young wondered what his plan was. How did he even know that Black Veil had sent a spy to them? She asked to tell how it even happened in the form. The girl was dying of curiosity, after which she and Yuhua crossed glances. She decided to tell them herself. The family there hadn't lost sight of the black merchants. It was reported with him that they were infiltrating various agencies and provinces as mercenaries. Therefore, Yuhua assumed that the Black Veil was serious about them. The young master devised a plan accordingly, and they created a reagent that helped detect traces from extremely poisonous substances. Its scent could be recognized 1,000 miles away. And then they made the mercenaries sign with their own hands with a brush dipped in this reagent. The black traitors mainly use a deadly poison dubbed soul-destroying blood poison. Usually, such assassins would receive a small dose of the poison daily so that their bodies would get used to it. And when their hands touched the brush with the reagent, a faint glow was formed, allowing them to anticipate their movements in advance. They then spread this fragrance 1,000 miles away, chasing the Black Veil on their heels. It was also easier for them to attack when they were all baited. Such a plan was born by itself, so she apologized. A scent that could be recognized 1,000 miles away. It turns out that was how he guessed they were here. Han Pil also seems to have figured it out. Now they could follow the trail of the escapees and go to their main base to rescue Jechong. She could see the path perfectly. The scent from 1,000 miles away was coming from that direction, somewhere about 5 miles away from them. Chaungyeop understood. It hadn't been that long since they had escaped, so they better hurry. Han Pil wondered if she was going to go along with them too. Things might have been different if the distance was shorter. However, it would be difficult for them to pursue the scent alone at such a distance. She, on the other hand, would lead them in the right direction. After which, Chaungyeop and Tang Yuhua moved forward. Yuhua could sense where the scent was becoming more pungent. However, it could be seen that she was having a hard time. It seems like these scum didn't even notice that they were being chased. This fragrance is something that she especially worked on, so only the family members there would be able to distinguish it. But once they realize that the deaths are actually Jejong's fault, the survivors won't be silent. They must intercept him before they cripple this man. The Black Veil are the proudest assassins of all. He will not do anything to anyone who tarnishes their honor, so they need to get to their destination as soon as possible. Suddenly, she heard that the protagonist would be going alone next. Yuhua asked why he suddenly decided that. Of course, he noticed that she was already completely exhausted. Therefore, it was better for her to go back and rest. She'd spent many nights preparing the medicine. However, she didn't make the reagents, so she should be fine. There's no need to worry, and Chaungyeop wasn't going to take away someone she cares about. He could see that her feelings for that person were genuine. He could even feel it for himself. In that case, she would trust him. The girl gave him a potion. It was a drug that would temporarily make him more susceptible to the scent. Tang Yuhua also asked her to save Jechong. Meanwhile, one of the survivors had already reached him. He called the man a dirty bastard. He didn't understand at all how this bastard dared to betray them. Just a pathetic rat. Suddenly, he heard laughter. Jejong was laughing because that man was taking out his anger on him. So his plan succeeded. That man made him so angry that he wanted to kill him. Jejong laughed further. Let him kill him. Isn't that why he came here in the first place? Actually, killing him right now would be pointless. He would kill him very slowly and painfully, and he would start with those fingers. At that moment, he noticed a butterfly behind him. And so, in one technique, he lost his own head without even realizing it. Chaungyeop stood before this man he had been looking for so long. He hoped it was Jejong in front of him. Jechong's gaze was immediately drawn to that soft sword. It really was Jejong Lee Jechon. Chaungyeop had given his name. He had come to fulfill the promise he made to his father. Therefore, the guy offered to go to him. However, Jejong had a question. After all, he had lost his head to a woman and left his adorable father alone. So how dare he come back? Everyone does stupid things. A wise person is not someone who makes mistakes. A wise man is one who learns from those same mistakes. He still has a chance. So he should try not to miss this one chance that has appeared before him after a long time. He dropped his hammer and there were tears in his eyes. His child was really in front of his eyes. He was happy to see his father too, after all. The two immediately embraced. The father asked, and where had the prankster been all this time, and why was he only coming back now? Jae-jung sobbed and apologized to his father. Meanwhile, the protagonist was thinking about how he was able to repay the master for his sword. He turned back and saw Lady Tan, who was worried about something. The boy wondered if she was all right. She was fine, precisely because of him. Chaungyeop asked if she came here to meet them. Tang Yuhuan would wait for a while. She felt bad for interrupting their long-awaited reunion. The man asked Chaungyeop if he was leaving already. He wanted to repay him for this favor, after all. The moment the master gave him the sword for nothing, Chaun-yeop decided it was his duty to save his son. He took the hand of the protagonist and thanked him from his heart. He was also curious to know who the young lady beside him was. Tang Yuhua from Sichuan province introduced herself. He clearly didn't expect to see someone from Sichuan province here. This family was famous for producing and using poisons as well as antidotes. Therefore, the man didn't understand at all why someone from the Tang family decided to visit them. Chaungyeop replied that the young mistress was of great help in saving Juchong, and he didn't even know about it. The young lady replied that it was her duty. She also had something to say about the young master. Young Lady Tang honestly recounted everything that had happened so far. Tracking down the origins of the items accidentally acquired from the Black Veil, they learned about Jae-jong Cheon Lee. Interested in him, they sought to meet him everywhere. Of course, the old man suspected that they had been approached by the Tang family from Sichuan province, as they were interested in his son's talent, and a puzzled expression appeared on his face. Tang Yuhua began to assure the lord that they would treat his son as they would a nobleman. If Jae-chong doesn't mind, the Tang family in Sichuan province will provide him with protection. Any interference is ruled out. He turned to the master, saying that as long as his son's talent did not fade, people would continue to persecute him in a similar manner in the future. As such, sending him to a safe place would be a good solution. Some place where they respect his talent and can guarantee his safety. He really understood what he was getting at. However, it would not be up to him to decide. Jae-kon felt that he had dishonored his father with his actions in the past, so now he would do as his father said to avoid the same ones. He just looked at his child in silence. Tang Yuhua replied that she also creates weapons. She realizes the value of the talent his son possesses. She is honored to work with the young master. So the girl asked if they could give her the opportunity. If she is confident that her opinion will never change, then she can take his boy. Suddenly Tang Yuhua called him father and thanked him for his trust. Tang Yuhua would do everything in her power to help the young master. He didn't really pay much attention to it. But it was true that no one thought about Jae-chong as much as this young master. She would have to make her own decisions after this. Jae-jung asked if he was already leaving. Chaungyeop asked if he had anything to say. He actually thinks he's a monster. All he knew was how to handle a hammer, so he was going to die like that. But when Chaungyeop cut the chain around his ankles, it was as if he was reborn as a human again. It was as if she understood what he was trying to say. Zhongli Jae-chong wants to honor Chaungyeop as a named brother. Chaungyeop wondered what that meant. Jae-jung called him an older brother. The guy got angry and asked who is his brother here. If he goes to the Tang family, he will have a better life than anyone. By associating with a wanderer like Chaungyeop, he won't get anywhere. It seems his son felt a strong brotherly love for the young man who saved him. Even this old man would like to make the same request to him, to bind himself with the bond of named brothers. What a foolish thing to do. Family. He doesn't even realize how much trouble attachments can cause. They make a man weak. Doesn't he realize that Chaungyeop only helped because of this freedom from attachments? And now they are asking to do such a foolish thing with him. He mentally turned to the great young master. Chaungyeop remembered how he had once treated him as his little brother. The protagonist even thought that he was trying to use him for the sake of Miss Su-yeon. However, Subom knew everything. Chaungyeop was the only one who had feelings for Madame Su-yeon. But if that was the case, then what about the situation now? He called out the name of Jae-jong's Cheon Lee. Since he had forged this sword, Chaungyeop's blood butterfly technique was finally completed. Perhaps it's called fate. The fact that he saved Jae-chong with that sword. Then so be it, the guy said, holding out his hand. With a quick cut, he injured both himself and Jae-chong. Of course it was painful. Now they were blood brothers. From now on, anyone who dares to touch even a strand of hair on Jae-chong's head, Chaungyeop will chase them all the way to hell and kill them. He would cut them all out, after which he bandaged his hand. Tang Yuhua helped Jae-chong with the bandaging. They all turned their attention to the people who had come here. It was two old men who wanted to join their conversation. As it turned out, they were Tang Yuhua's grandfather and uncle. Tang Muchong, Yuhua's grandfather, introduced himself. Tang Chong-ai, the head of the Tang family of Sichuan province, also gave his name. If it was the Tang family of Sichuan province, you could use poison on the road to threaten and extort Jaichong's Chiang Li. Young madam must not have wanted that. He wants to talk about it like it's someone else's business. But now it's his brother's business. If they hadn't ignored his orders, young Mistress Dan would have handled everything perfectly well on her own. Yuhua said he was very helpful, so she wanted to know where his brother-in-law's brother's hometown was. The main character was very wary of Jejung being called his son-in-law. Perhaps his granddaughter and Jejung will eventually become a couple, and wouldn't he then become his son-in-law? It wasn't the very moment he first saw them who he had aroused. It felt like they had a strong family. Muchong asked what he thought about it. It seems that this old man decided to come back together to ask about it. The guy replied that it wasn't a particularly noteworthy place. Judging from the atmosphere, it doesn't seem that way. Chaungyeop should come up with an answer that would suit him. It would be much easier that way. He was from a sect called Moon Gate, who carry on the tradition of the sutra on breathing techniques that had been passed down from generation to generation. In that case, Muchong wanted to hear his master's name or title. Perhaps he had heard of the divine monk Taiyi, the great hero Wan Sahu. He couldn't even figure out if he had heard that name before or not. Of course he hadn't. Chaungyeop had just thought of that name. If you think about it, this grandfather could be his master. However, the one who wrote it could indeed be called a master. Born extremely weak, he sacrificed everything for strength. He was very interested in his moon-breathing technique, but he just couldn't handle it. So he asked this young man if he could give him a chance to assess his strength. It turns out sparring was his goal all along. And if he's a person with that kind of temperament, it's a headache. However, there was no other way out. So the guy agreed and asked what he should do. They stopped. An iron ball appeared in his hand. Chong-A explained, in order for his father to fully appreciate this guy's strength, they will have a competition to push this iron ball. They have to move the ball halfway from its original position, until it reaches the drawn line, and then slowly weaken their strength. Mu Chong was ready, so he wanted to get started as soon as possible. It turns out this is how they measure internal strength. Perhaps it's not a bad chance to compare his strength with an elder of a prestigious family. He should take this opportunity to gauge the degree of inner strength he has gained through the breathing technique. The protagonist began to crowd him a bit. Chong-A didn't even expect his father to start pushing back. His inner strength smoothly fluctuated and dissipated. He has never met anyone with such energy. It's really mysterious and exquisite. Very smooth, yet strong and graceful at the same time. However, Muchong feels an uncontrollable and immeasurable evil ki. However, despite its grandiosity, it is not oppressive. Rather, it is refreshing and pure. The old man decided to try it again. Chong-A noticed that his father's strength had weakened, after which he rushed forward using even more inner strength. But it seems that the main character was also keeping up with him. The iron ball was lying in the middle. It also thought that it was ready to reflect anything that could be fired like a bullet. But what kind of power is that? A little while later, they stopped at the same room. The old man asked the young master if the divine monk Taiyi hadn't taught him the last breath in the moon-breathing technique. Chaun-yeop asked if he was missing something. Muchong asked if he would learn all the secret techniques of the sect if he mastered this last technique. This is indeed true. The final stage of this breathing technique has a fatal side effect. Although the technique gives tremendous power, the better he masters it, the better it works. However, the more and the more poison accumulates in the body. In other words, if he can't completely neutralize the poison, then even though he masters the technique completely, he won't be able to use it properly. In fact, he had made it all up as well. This must be the reason why the master, the divine monk of the Taiyi, was a hermit. He never entered the world of martial arts. Of course, the protagonist agreed to this. If someone forcibly tried to learn a technique, the side effects would worsen. The old man had read that this was rather unfortunate. However, his master had discovered one possibility and entrusted him with the mission. Muchong inquired as to what this mission was. Since even with all kinds of elixirs, there could only be a temporary effect. He said that it was necessary to always carry something to maintain it, and to have a continuous effect that doesn't lose its effectiveness even for a moment. If he gives the protagonist an unpleasant task, let him be prepared to receive the same. Among them, an immortal orb resistant to poisons is the best option, but it exists only in legends. Hence, the master asked to obtain the white warm jade that is resistant to poisons. It is the best that could be found in the martial arts world at the moment. It is a rare item that is difficult for even the Tang clan to obtain. Then how does this young man know about it? Everything is going just fine. This old man has to react in a way that makes the main character's acting worth the effort. It seems that this fool's persistent questioning of this Sichuan Tan family really helped. This guy probably knows a lot about Murom. However, this poisoned wine is so valuable that he can't even get it for a fortune. And even if he had a fortune, he still doesn't know where to find it. Since no one will tell him so easily, so how should he look into the eyes of a master after that? He must have a lot of worries too. Anyway, he's feeling a little dizzy, so he decided to take a walk, a stroll to air himself out. Let him take his time. He was even a little embarrassed to deceive the older man. Well, perhaps, at least this way he could get the white warm jade and poisoned wine following the elixir of life. All we can do now is wait. Golden City Transportation Service. The man read the article he received. The 10 largest Hanam bureaus have nearly collapsed, and their positions are quickly being taken over by the Heavenly Dragon Bureau, Jinan Bureau, and Pegasus Bureau. These 3 bureaus have secretly destroyed or others and taken over their bases, but no evidence of their connection or illegal activities has been found. In plain sight, they are conducting perfectly ordinary business, and nothing suspicious has been found. The man is sure it's not all a coincidence when you consider the timing of their appearance and the similar methods they use to take over the bases of fallen bureaus. Now it seems he should check the next letter. Among the 3 escorts with Yeoju, the head of the transportation service in the Nanyang, in one large man recognized the demon ball Oma. The identities of the other 2 could not be revealed. A month ago, the day 2 of the 3 escorts were hired, 10 attackers attacked the Golden City, but all of them were killed by the 2 escorts. Subsequently, during their journey, they were attacked by 3 notorious bandits. Demon Lord of Withered Trees, a benevolent smile and a demonic palm of crimson flame. All 3 of them were killed by these escorts. One can guess who was that swift sword demon master, but it's hard to judge someone who uses a soft sword. Perhaps they were the reason why the Flying Dragon Bureau had recently become cautious in their actions. This means that they haven't fully revealed their identities yet. There is still not enough information. The Golden City Transportation Service is still operating in the Dead Sea branch of Loyan. A couple days ago, it was confirmed that there was a major battle there in the early morning. In that bureau, thanks to the prompt work of the 3 escorts, the enemy forces were annihilated. And with that, the activity of the bureau that was about to expand, the Pegasus, temporarily stopped. At this moment, the capabilities of the Golden City are unrivaled. But who is this escort that you are so sure of, Yeoju? Of course, he is a person with a special aura. The man felt a strange energy. No matter how you look at it, he doesn't look like an ordinary chaperone. Where is he from anyway? He should head to Lorien when he's done with business here. Yeohun ran into him. His whole appearance showed that the guy was anxious. Father seems to be urgently looking for uncle, and his condition suddenly worsened. Seo Ju asked him to hang in there and not overload himself. Yeohun and he's here, so he shouldn't worry. Seo Ilsan, the former head of transportation service of the Golden City. Ilsan shouldn't worry because all the geniuses were gathered in Yeoju's subordinate. It's dangerous. Blood and energy are flowing in the opposite direction. We need to hurry up. Seoju asked if Yeohun could help his father. Seoju used the technique of 9 turns of deep yang. The block on the bloodstream was more serious than he first thought. If he couldn't reach the Dantian this way, Il-san would die. Suddenly, he felt a familiar energy. It's as gentle as a stream, but as strong as waves. It's not fragile, but it's not rough. It is exactly like his energy. The bloodstream slowly starts flowing in the right direction, according to the yang-based 9 turns technique. Seoju asked who was looking after Il-san before. Yeohun replied that it was one of the 3 attendants. If he had met his older sister before, he should know him. That person was the same age as Yeohun. However, that person was exceptional, both in swordsmanship and inner strength. It was obviously that young man. He had just spat out another blood clot. The largest block that was blocking the blood flow had disappeared. That mysterious energy apparently played a crucial role in bringing him out of critical condition. Just wish there was someone capable of controlling the life energy. The man replied that it was fine and suggested just monitoring the situation. Yeohun thanked his uncle for his help. It seems they were able to overcome the severe crisis. Perhaps an exceptional doctor like Galman Hyuk could possess such energy. What kind of past a person must have to have anger at such a young age to possess such tremendous power? Chaungyeop thanked him for his hospitality, but now their paths diverged. Chaungyeop wanted to give him something, and this badge of honor shows that Chaungyeop is a member of the Tang clan. Don't these people understand at all what the protagonist is trying to say? Chaungyeop asked if he hadn't already said he was a monk. The man replied that it was not to tie him to anything. This plaque shows affiliation with the Tang clan, and also serves as a defense against poisons. Although it is not made of white jade, it should be able to resist most poisons. The man asked to accept it as a token of gratitude for this guy following his father's will. Considering Chaun-yeop's skills, not many people could defeat him. But when he picks up his sword and sets out to travel the Jianghu, he will often run into unpleasant people. If they find out that the Tang clan is behind his back, they won't dare to act rashly. That is exactly what this plaque is for. He is pleased to hear an honest answer, so he will gladly accept this item. It's even surprising that there are so many good-hearted people in the Tang family in Sichuan province. It seems like he doesn't have to worry about money. Even if this guy needs a warm white jade, he was willing to obtain it for him. Once this was over, then he should pay a visit to the Tang clan. If his niece and Chong Li's son become a couple, then Chaun-yeop would also become the Tang clan's no stranger to the clan. But that didn't mean it would agree to their devious tricks. He offered to exchange warm white jades the next time he visited the clan. Exchange jades, so that's how he turned the conversation around. He was called out by Jo Young. She was driving a cart. He wondered where all the Gold City carriage came from. It seems the Golden City transportation service is quite popular lately. It seems they came to greet Chaungyeop. It had been a long time since they had seen each other, so she was happy to see him. This couldn't be. Did they really decide to resume the trip? Yeoju and Seoju got off the wagon. Of course he remembered the man. The protagonist asked the young mistress how she knew where he was and how to find him. After he and their Dan mistress disappeared like that, and disappeared for a few days, she asked Mr. Gi Chul to find them both. And soon after hearing the news that he was accompanied by people from the Tang family, she decided to come. But why on earth would they all come together? The business of the Dead Sea Bureau was settled, and now they could go on their way. Just in time, her uncle showed up, and after a discussion, they decided to go to the Namgung family. Thanks to her uncle's foresight, they were able to find the young master. Mrs. Seo believes that the Namgung family has gathered many people, so this uncle has no reason to refuse to wave the flag of service. Namgung family. Judging from the atmosphere, several people from the Orthodox faction will gather there. Then this is a great opportunity to learn more about the Flying Dragon sect. Seoju watched the main character carefully. He seemed to have chosen a good inn. After all, it had been a long journey and everyone was tired. It seems like the service head could rest properly for the first time in a long time. This guy must be a real master. Seoju had heard a lot about him from Yeoju. Since there wasn't much time left before the Namgung family festival, he suggested that he too should rest and prepare to travel here for a few days. But this inn is surprisingly quiet, even though there are usually a lot of people staying there. It's as if someone deliberately got rid of the locals. Perhaps he knows something about it. Seoju suggested that he was very curious about the Flying Dragon. There's no need to worry because Yeoju trusts him, and Seoju doesn't want unnecessary sacrifices. The protagonist wondered if he too had something to do with this sect. He can say for sure that he isn't. But Seoju won't say anything else. And if this guy wants to be told more, then Chaungyeop will have to do something to get started. The main character was attacked by a couple people. He managed to jump away from the point of impact. The man noticed such light and agile martial arts. He should definitely not be underestimated. They decided to make a formation of reserves, and Chaungyeop attacked them with his weapon. However, his sword was stepped on, making it impossible to use it now. It was the perfect opportunity to strike. Chaungyeop had time to jump. However, the man quickly reacted and aimed his blade at him. At this even time, the main character was using the bloody butterfly technique. First technique, the bloody spiral dance. After that, Seoju shouted for them to stop. That was enough, so they could continue their conversation. Seoju offered a drink. Since he had exhausted this guy in the middle of the night, they should wet their throats first, and then they could talk. He ambushes the guy first, and then he pours. He has a very strange hobby. Seoju apologized for that. He knows that it was very impolite of him. However, the man decided that it was the surest way to demonstrate his abilities. Undoubtedly, Chaungyeop's reputation is well-deserved. And now he could settle with a calm mind. Before he begins, he would like to start by expressing his gratitude. Thanks to the efforts of the protagonist, Seoju's named brother had overcome his illness and was now recovering. For that, he was very grateful. Chaun-yeop asked if he was referring to the former head of transportation as his named brother. The guy was just sharing his energy and there was nothing special about it. Soon after Seoju returned to the Golden City, his brother was in a critical situation. He immediately pressed the acupuncture point of the Minman and tried to direct the flow of life energy inside his body, quietly. But in that moment, the country's energy that was hidden in his brother's body was very helpful in unblocking the other acupuncture points that originally had a block on them. It was truly a mysterious energy. There was nothing wrong with this energy. It was all thanks to the life force of Ilsan. Did he really just say that it was the great divine yin monk, Wansahu? The old man who used the sutra of yin breathing techniques must have really been an outstanding master. One would have to find out more about him. When you think about it like that, he asks these kinds of questions because of which it's worth assuming who he is. First of all, Seoju must have realized that one of his men is a sword demon. That bear-like guy is a member of the Muram Alliance. However, Seoju didn't recognize him. This man commands subordinates and is well-informed, but the chief expert of the Muram Alliance didn't recognize him. That probably means he's someone from the government, most likely from some secret organization. Secondly, apparently he left the transportation service to solve this problem. The protagonist asked if his assumptions were true. Now, Seoju is convinced that he has amazing insight. In that case, Chaungyeop hoped that he would say something useful. The protagonist was curious to know what this man wanted from him. Plus, he also mentioned the name of the Flying Dragon sect. Seoju ordered Dongho to cordon off the surrounding area, after which all of his subordinates left. The protagonist mentioned that he had impressive subordinates. No one had ever stepped on his sword before. If the four of them worked together, they could make Hanpil and his sword sweat. Seoju thought this guy kept aloof, but it turns out he has that side of his personality as well. Seoju made inquiries not only about Chaungyeop, but also about the sword demon and Seogyu. He heard that she single-handedly took down over 10 Black Veil assassins. It was also rumored that they had destroyed 3 old masters known as the 3 Northern Demons. This guy in particular defeated the forces that overthrew the bureau in Hanam, and recently, he tracked down all the members of the Black Veil who were hunting Seogyu. This guy discovered them and immediately wiped them out. And all of this happened in a matter of months. And it just so happens that Chaungyeop's actions only benefited him. The protagonist wondered if this man really wanted him to become his subordinate. Or is it just that he wants to pay him? Chaungyeop apologized, but even though he travels alone, he manages to gather all the information he needs. However, he doesn't need to be a subordinate. Seoju, on the contrary, wanted Chaungyeop to command them. Let him take the patronage of the 4 for now instead, Seoju. If someone like this guy guided them, then Seoju would be at ease. The Flying Dragon Gate is definitely watching over Chaungyeop, and as long as they keep an eye on them, Seoju will be able to gather more information about them himself. Does he really think these guys will obey him? Especially that woman. She treated him like an enemy. Seoju had a bet with them. If these guys defeated him, they would call the whole thing off. Their pride is hurt now, but they understand. He doesn't like the idea anyway. Let him better call the 4 of them, and he'll personally tell them what he's against it. Seoju heard about Seol Su-yeon's search for Seol Su-yeon, the eldest daughter of the Kamseok Sol family. No matter how good he is, gathering information alone is much harder. Dongho warned Seoju about his attitude towards Jang Sanmi. The man realized many things from that. The protagonist's mood immediately changed, and he wondered if he was being blackmailed now. He's just assuming. He doesn't have any hard evidence. Seoju is just showing what you can find out when you're not working alone. The man called out to Dongho. He knows that aside from eating and sleeping, this guy is only busy swinging his sword. With such mysterious energy and the ability to create his signature technique, perhaps he would change his mind if Seoju offered this. Here are 4 volumes of secret martial arts known as 4 powerful strange martial arts skills from around the world. The first one is a heartbreaking demonic sound technique. It was left behind by an extraordinary monster, the musician's son, Choge. It is said he was able to drive hundreds of martial artists mad with a single flute. Next is the water immersion technique. It was left by a man named Tomo Yul, from the Golden Bell Island in the East Sea. According to legend, he boasted of underwater swimming abilities that could be compared to those of a fish. The third is the records of the Mouse and Demon. It was left by a martial artist, but a danshi of the mouse insect. They are said to contain bizarre and unconventional techniques of the mouse insect. Finally, there is a secret technique called the 3 deceptive demon secrets. It was left by a deceiving demon, but Zhongyi. They only recently got hold of it, so he's not sure of the contents. It's all from the secret archives of the Imperial Palace. If Chaungyeop accepts his offer, any of these books could be in his hands. That's quite tempting. Does this person really want his involvement that badly? Like he said, the Flying Dragon will start sending out stronger masters, so this might come in handy. One day he won't have Aomhan and Seokyo by his side. He needs to become stronger. Maybe he really should accept the offer. He agrees. The main character decides to take the 3 deceptive demonic secrets. Seo Ju asked if he was sure that's what he wanted to take. He didn't understand this decision as all the others are much easier to learn. This technique was left behind by the demon deceiver, which meant it probably didn't have flashy techniques unlike the orthodox ones. With this kind of talent, he could master the heartbreaking demonic sound technique or the Maosan demon martial arts at the highest level, and become an unrivaled master. But he was more interested in the demonic arts. It was interesting to see if this guy could choose the right path like Chaungyeop. A promise is a promise. He also said, "Take this, for this weapon would guarantee Chaungyeop's credibility in the eyes of the 4. Holding this golden dragon dagger in his hand, any orders he gives will be treated as if they came from the imperial family. He must not use it to harm the imperial family, the government, or the common people. Everything else would be up to him." Since those 4 would obey him, he asked that they be called here. He also memorized Dongho's name. It seemed to the guy that he was the chief among them. He probably has his own subordinates, including himself. Each of them has 4 subordinates who have their own 4 subordinates. He asked to call them all here. Dongho and Buko, Namho and Soho. Chaungyeop greeted them. He also said it was a pleasure to meet them. He has his first instruction. He doesn't need these guys, so don't even think about getting in the way. That would be his first order of business. Second order. While their boss is away, they're all on vacation. They have many subordinates, and their intelligence network is probably excellent. Chaungyeop isn't satisfied with all the information being found out by them first. Therefore, let them rest. And the third order. During the vacation, all matters are handed over to Dongho. He'll be busy learning secret techniques, so that's it. They don't have to worry because he'll keep his word when the time comes. Until then, they should have a good rest. Seo Ju laughed. He didn't even expect this guy to answer like this. After which, the man told everyone to disperse. Chaungyeop had said that he would keep his word after all. Therefore, they just have to wait. Yayul Sa'an asked if he was able to find out anything. As said, the Imperial Palace servants and the Murim Alliance have been very active lately. So the Namgung family meeting was organized by that dog of the Emperor, Shangguan Jinjie. The Murim Alliance is most likely acting through the Beggar Elder, the master of information gathering. Although the Emperor has put a smart man on the case, he is unlikely to openly publicize his connection with the authorities. The beggars who could roam freely anywhere were a bigger problem now. Hanam's transportation service is back online, which means that right now, the most visible part of the Western Heavenly Alliance is the Dragon Heaven Gate. The Salt and Chu family will try to track them down and weaken their position. They will deal with the Emperor later. The first thing to deal with is the Beggar Elder, Mu Young Shin Ge. He asked to give the elder Yom Sol B the news that it's time to hunt down Mu Young Shin Ge, whom he hates so much. If these guys want to know about the alliance so badly, then let them come themselves. To master the illusory demonic technique, one must first of all take a breath and be abnormal. A person can't live for a second without a heartbeat. But it is this healthy breathing and heartbeat that are the shackles that limit one's capabilities. If one is completely free from these shackles, one can become like a celestial, transcending all limitations. By blocking the various energy channels of the body and controlling the internal energy, one can achieve unprecedented power. This is the essence of the illusory demonic technique. This is completely different from the breathing of the Tum Tonapgyeong technique. Here it speaks of renouncing everything human and gaining power by becoming something superhuman. The very essence of breathing is different from the Taem Tonapgyeong technique, which was created to heal illnesses. This book is strange, but that was exactly what he liked. He would definitely master it as well. The guy had only been concentrating for an hour, and already he was so tired. And all he had done was try to repeat what was written on 2 of the 3 pages. If the Taem Tonapgyeong energy didn't protect Chaungyeop's energy channels, he would have gone to the other world several times over. What is written on the last page? If he comprehends all that is written above, He will reach the state of sim chik dong, that is, the unity of heart and movement, when the body moves simultaneously with the thought, and will be nicknamed illusory demon. If the trajectory of the blood butterfly technique followed Chaungyeop's thoughts exactly, he would be able to create techniques far superior to the current ones. Of course, he felt that Dongho was here again. Chaungyeop had said to take a vacation last night, after all. Dongho was impressed that he had sensed his presence so quickly. Impressive or not, he wanted to know why this guy was wrong here. As long as that yellow dragon dagger is in his hands, he can be wherever he wants to be. Dongho wondered what happened to him in 24 hours. His breathing is so heavy. It looks like the aftermath was more serious than he thought. Chaungyeop replied that it doesn't matter and asked what he wanted. He asked for help in rescuing one person. He has dozens of people under him, so why do they need Chaungyeop? Dongho replied that everyone has their own responsibilities, so it's difficult to gather them in one place. He heard that the Western Celestial Alns Alliance is pursuing the Beggar Alliance Elder. He should pass through here in about half an hour. Right now, Shangguan-san is temporarily absent, so it will be difficult for them alone to protect him. If possible, it's better for Chaungyeop to take the demon sword with him. This Han Pill Bear is of no use to him. He's already been too active lately trying to find out about Chaungyeop, and with them together, it would be even worse. Dongho thought that they became friends at the illegal gambling house, and became comrades. Everyone has their own ulterior motives. He is also in the Golden City Transportation Service for a reason. So why does Dongho think the guy will act on his request? He already got the secret technique he wanted and can escape at any time. When Dongho researched information about this guy, he thought he valued loyalty and promises. It seems he was wrong about that. Therefore, let him forget this conversation. After which he left. He is created unexpectedly easy, though he seems to have thought about his request for a long time. In fact, he doesn't really care. Let even the Western Celestial Alliance and them fight. The more they weaken each other, the better. He decided to show that he wasn't guided by nonsense like loyalty. Meanwhile, they were busy exterminating the enemies. Of course, they were protecting the elder who needs to hold out a little longer. Those masked men are strong, though. But if the attackers are really subject to that demon, they won't be defeated. Since they are serving the Emperor, let them fight with the willingness to die with the enemy. There is no way he should fall to them alive. And another elder arrived there, noticing that Mu Yongxinggo was still cold-blooded. He was curious to see if this old man could remain silent if he caught him and tortured him. Yom Sol Bi, a soul-capturing demonic sword. Remembering how much trouble he caused with his arrows, he should definitely take him alive this time. Solby said, "Everyone get out of the way." Neither the Imperial Court nor the Murin Alliance would be able to stop him. At that moment, Dongho intervened in their fight. Too bad they've already caught up with them. What a daring boy. Seal B used a soul-capturing demonic sword. This attack was able to cut through the main character who used the third blood butterfly technique. Falling blood petals. Wasn't he going to take a vacation to the other world? When it was over, they needed to talk. Chaun-yeop took over the Salt B. The other four were rallying with the other assassins. Shingo fought back as well. After that, he decided to run away. This guy was the one who killed that guy with the kind smile. However, that wasn't enough to stop Sol B. He would love to deal with that brat, but he can't let go of the prey he has to catch today. This old man can't even run away properly. Shinji felt a powerful aura. He really is powerful. Buko mentioned that their goal was to protect Muyung Shinge. So she asked what they should do now. Dongho said to leave him behind. If they can at least maintain these guys here for a little while, there won't be a problem. This guy is clearly strong. However, enough of these useless games. Seal B would destroy them all with a punch. This was too powerful a power surge. Even the protagonist had a hard time resisting it. They immediately rushed towards this old man using the 10 Deaths formation. However, Chaungyeop realized that this death formation wasn't strong enough. The clipping was the strongest he had ever met. Therefore, he too must defeat it with a single strike. Because of the illusory demonic technique, his body is behaving strangely. Did those bugs really think they could defeat him with it? He still decided to try and use the knowledge he gained against him. So Ilsun's father was able to handle the poisonous energy. So Chaun-yeop would be able to as well. The guy will try to use Taeum Tonapkyong energy. Bloody butterfly technique. The fourth technique. The four had to recoil so they wouldn't get hit. Blood butterfly spirit. They all watched the protagonist's victory with astonishment. After which, Chaungyeop collapsed to the ground. Buko tried to bring him to his senses. Dongho noticed that there was something wrong with the guy. It was only then that they noticed signs of going off track. In the end, Buko decided to help him. Though the others didn't seem to understand why she was doing it. They can't just stand by and watch this. This guy was trying to help them after all. Dongho turned to Namho and Soho. If it wasn't for Chaungyeop, they would be dead by now. That's why they can't let Buko fight alone. Since they had decided all this, that Dongho would help them too, they all focused on their work. That guy seems to be doing a little better. But if it continues like this, they will all go off the path. At that moment, Seo-ju arrived at their place. The man told them to concentrate. Something more serious than he expected had happened. He had returned because the contact had happened sooner than he had anticipated. If things continued like this, they would all be in danger. Couldn't let them all die. They must survive. That was the golden glow. Now they must leave. Chaungyeop would not starve here. He also remembered the twins, who were angry that there was a freaking Darthling in their house. He also remembered his grandfather and uncle. Grandpa Huang noticed that he was getting too excited, which was unusual for him. Then there was Han Pil, Yuju, and Gyu Young. Han Pil asked if he really liked swinging his sword that much. It's time to go now. And even the events that happened recently at the blacksmith's house. And then the meeting with Seo-ju and the four of them. He even had a vision of Subom. That damned bastard is paying for his arrogance. No matter how smart he is, not everything in this world happens the way he wants it to. His mask fell off when he met someone with similar insight. So what does he want to do now? Will he even be able to find So-young? He just has to survive this incident. Han Pil thought about something. And Yuju asked what was wrong. He hasn't seen his normal face for days. Isn't that guy swinging a sword somewhere again? A long time ago, Gyu Young saw him enter the room along with some book. Let him rest for now. After all, they're very close to the Namgung family residence, so it's best to leave him alone for now. He finally woke up. Chaun-yeop didn't even realize where he was. Buko had said that they were currently in one of their huts. He now realized that these guys had saved him. Thanks to Chaungyeop defeating the demon, they were all still alive too. Xingguan also came to them. Dongho briefly told him what had happened. He told Yuju that Chaun-yeop was temporarily absent at his request. He could return to his room whenever he saw fit. They would go to the Namgung family's residence tomorrow. To be honest, when he handed over the yellow dragon dagger, he couldn't even think that they would help each other. Fortunately, Buko had pressed his acupuncture point in time. With that settled, she decided to leave. Most likely, this guy had almost lost his way because of the illusory demonic technique. It was dangerous. Xingguan inquired if he was all right now. If that old beggar man hadn't started acting so suddenly, he wouldn't have to be so tense. He was referring to Mu Yong Xingjae. He had inflicted the information to the Namgung family's residence. The old man was trying to take advantage of the commotion to reach his destination. He was just doing his job like everyone else. Thanks to this choice, he must have already reached his destination on time. Chaungyeop mentioned that because of this old man, 6 of them had almost died. Of course he had to do it. After all, such matters were not for him. He will help them in gratitude for saving them. But Mr. Xingguan also knows that the yellow dragon dagger belongs to Dongho. So when the time comes, then he will just leave. He will quickly pay off his debt to these people. Buko asked the captain if he was okay, and why everyone was gathered here in the first place. They were actually fine and even better than before. Buko asked what he meant. He'd had a painful knot on his neck for a long time, and now it was gone. It seemed like the Chaun-yeop energy that Shangguan-san was talking about had affected them. Even though he had completely stopped breathing and blocked the bleeding, unlike in the past, his body naturally absorbed the energy. He really almost went off the path. It's so good to travel the world. There are so many interesting things in it after all. Central Lands, Namgung family residence. They heard the cry that it just couldn't be. The honorable head of the Namgung family, Namgung Seon-yu, an old man was shouting that the old monster from the Tang family of Sichuan was still alive. And beside him was the head of the Namgung family, Hui-jun. Mu-chung noticed that this rascal saw his elder brother and didn't even bow. Why is he gawking at that? Song-yu thought that in 30 years of reclusiveness, this old man would have matured at least a little. But he hadn't changed a bit. Just look at that Seon-yu. It looks like he'll never wise up until the day he dies. Tang Yuhua tried to bring Grandpa to his senses. There are those here who are seeing this man for the first time, so he decided to introduce him. This is Zheng Rijai Zhang. He is an important person to the Tang family of Sichuan. It seems the Tang family has finally found someone who can help them achieve their long-time goal. Very soon, their influence will become even greater. Song-yu asked how they met. You could say it was a fortunate coincidence. She was lucky enough to meet an irreplaceable person. He will also come to the Namgung family's residence, so the girl will introduce them. Huijun replied that it was getting late, so he suggested they go inside to continue the conversation there. In the meantime, the two old men stopped alone. Mu Zhong inquired about the situation. Yesterday, Mu Yong-siga arrived here. Their fears were justified. Now they need to prepare for the worst. Finally, they were getting into action. Gu Young was beyond excited when she saw all this luxury. It was even better than the Golden City's transportation service. The girl immediately came to her senses and asked if she was being too loud about it all. Yeo Ju replied that this place was truly magnificent. It's worthy of one of the most powerful families of the Central Lands. Han Pil is surely famous here. They should go to the Namgung family's residence to introduce the Lord and enhance the prestige of the Golden City's transportation service. Han Pil wondered if he was the one he was talking about now. Chaungyeop replied not to let him act like a bear. That's a really good guy. Gu Young is now convinced of that. Chaungyeop replied that she will go with him. They should keep an eye on the surroundings. There are all sorts of different types gathered here. Suddenly the two heard familiar voices. It was Tang Yuhua and Zhejiang. This is so tiring. He would just say hello to them quickly and go somewhere else. Wei Chijung is from the Weiqi family from Hebei. If it's true that a lot of people have gathered, they're probably using this as an excuse to discuss important matters among the major families of the Central Lands. He just hoped that nothing bad would happen. Peng and Li from the Peng family of Hebei came up to him. Young Hyung was happy to see the cute little junior In Li from the Peng family. In Li assumed that her brother was looking for Tang Yuhua. Recently she saw her with some strange man. They were talking to some man and a woman. Did she really have a lover? Young Hyun replied to say hello and suggested that she walk him out. Suddenly, In Li noticed the main character. The girl replied that it was the same people that Tang Yuhua and that strange man were talking to. He decided to approach them and asked if they happened to be guests of the Tang family. Chaun-yeop told him that they were the guards of the Golden City's transportation service. Of course, he had heard of these famous guards. He didn't even expect to meet such important people immediately upon arrival. Surely this man must be looking for Tang Yuhua. Chaungyeop kindly pointed out that Madame Tang was currently talking in the East Wing. Jung Hyun asked how on earth he knew that. But after all, he himself asked if they were guests of the Tan family. Which means this man is looking for someone from that family. He would definitely be interested to know about the joyous event that happened to Mrs. Tang. He has heard that this man is an excellent fighter, but his insight is also quite impressive. Thanks to those words, Jung Hyun roughly understood the situation of the Tan family. And now, he's even more interested in learning about this person that told him everything. He wanted to take them to the Namgung family's residence. This young man has an unusual insight, which means he's here on the orders of the Lord to gather information. Jung Hyun was willing to help with that. This guy's got good instincts too. That's what you'd expect from the Heartlands. He agreed. Jung Hyun replied that he was really great. However, Chaungyeop argued that he was just lucky. In response, the man replied that the young master was too modest. The leader from Golden City's transportation service has already said hello. But he needs to say hello to the Namgung family members too. The Namgung family receives guests from all over the country. He saw the servants of the Namgung family walking. There are many more of them than the Kamsok Salt family. Apparently, this family is much more influential. He also saw an adult girl being followed by a younger girl. The sight reminded him for his grandfather Huang. He thanked the head of the Gongyi family for traveling such a long way. How could he miss Master Namgung's 80th birthday party, being the head of a friendly clan? He simply had to come. What friendly clan are we talking about if it's more like just a den of bandits? The old man replied that the Namgung family was grateful for the kindness of the Gongyi family. His Gongyi family would gladly join the celebration. Chaungyeop inquired what kind of thugs were here. Could it be the thugs? Jung Hyun couldn't call them brigands out in the open. That man with 2 axes is Chokbal Si. He's known as the twin axes that destroy mountains. He has incredible strength and practices external styles of Qigong. So usually you can't even give him a scratch with a ball. And that man with the iron mace, Mok Yumtae. He is known as the king of the iron mace from the underworld. He's also a master of external force, and it's said that his crude iron mace has already killed dozens of people. Well, the scariest of them all is the head of the Gong-yi family, Gong In-nak. His nickname is haphazardly flying double rings because he uses 2 rings in battle. These rings are the size of the palm of his hand, but when they leave his hands, they fly toward their target with incredible agility, aiming for his opponent's throat. It is said that it is impossible to imagine the strange movements of these flying rings until one encounters them in person. Not at all like the light step masters or that demon. It was interesting to see how these masters of external styles fought. In Lee's face reflected incomprehension. Yu Young replied that this guy had always been interested in other people's martial arts. The protagonist asked the young Master Weiqi if he was familiar with them. The man now realized what his preferences were. Another person who knew Weiqi appeared. Who would have thought he would meet him here in this wilderness? He wanted to join them. Who else would take care of Weiqi's brother if not himself? As it turned out, it was young Mr. Shimen, whom Young Hyun hadn't seen in a long time, the third son of the Shimen family. Shiman Pyo. This scoundrel enjoys the power of his older brother, Shimen Dok Yang, who serves in the court and clings to other families with the dirtiest methods. He was happy to see Weiqi's brother, though this brother doesn't seem to look particularly pleased. Gyo Young recognized it. It was the same man she undressed at the inn, and he remembered that woman's face too. It was because of that damned girl that he was disgraced. Go Young mentioned that he was the one who sent killers at her. Did that little parasite really put killers on her for such a small thing? It's a good thing they met. Now she could turn him into a lousy dog. Such an embarrassment, and right in front of other people, since he happens to be dealing with all this now. He was drunk then, and he's not now. They let him not think he'd give up so easily. At this moment, he was stopped by Chaun-yeop with his palm. Because of this collision, he was thrown backwards right into the wall. This guy is already throwing himself into the fight without even assessing his opponent's strength. That's why he already looks like a lousy dog. The man crashed right into Chaukbal C. What a clumsy way he flies. It looks like this guy really is a lousy dog. After which, he turned to the main character. He heard Chaungyeop's question about whether they were brigands. They were talking quietly in their circle, but from a distance, this man still heard it. He has excellent hearing. At first, you could tell he was angry, but it was actually true. This young man even guessed his profession from 10 years ago. He just has incredible insight. He's also not hypocritical, which he really likes. Bal Si offered to have a drink with them. What luck, a chance to learn about external martial arts firsthand. Chaungyeop would love to have a drink with them. Gyugyeon asked what about her. Young Hyun realized that he was closer to those guys than the others. Shimen's family is unlikely to just let this go. It seems like it could end up in big trouble. I don't often get to drink with strangers, however. Whoever Chaungyeop was, they really enjoyed this fight. A man should act with his fists, not his tongue. These guys are even a lot more trouble than he first thought. However, they didn't seem to be interested in anything else besides his name. That was to be expected. Thanks to the wine-infused Tang family, he doesn't get drunk. But to continue this is just a waste of time. He thanked them for their favor and would like to consider these two as his elder brothers. And as such, he even had a request for them, so he asked if they would mind. The two immediately inquired about what exactly he wanted to ask for. He too wants to practice external martial arts. However, he has no experience at all. Therefore, he would like to ask for some sparring lessons. Unfortunately, they have to refuse. If they spar here, there will be gossip about the Gongye family. Balsi doesn't want to listen to the chatter of these idiots. They'd rather drink quietly in the corner. Yomtae mentioned, and if he wants to spar, let him come to the Gongye family's residence. These guys are even easier. We'll have to back off. Chaun-yeop offered to bet on who would fall first. But to make it easier for him to deal with them next time, he needs to rein them in a bit now. It's said that one of the Golden City transportation guards was drinking with two thugs from the Gongye family. Those alcoholics got so drunk that they collapsed. Not even a hangover. Looks like the wine tincture wasn't fake. Han Pil came to him and asked what this guy was up to. He doesn't want the leader to draw unnecessary attention to himself and become the subject of rumors. That is why the demon sword is by the side of the lady. Why does he even care about what Chaungyeop is doing, since this man is by her side? Chaungyeop is strong. It's dangerous for someone like this guy to mess with those who stand outside the law. Of course, Han Pil didn't think he would stay with them forever. But if he takes the wrong path, Han Pil won't be swayed to fight him. He's not going to live by Han Pil's bearish notions of right and wrong. To gain the trust of others and be with them, you have to share their values. Leader Seo and Gyo Young are the kind of people who will find their place and do what they have to do. So who is Chaungyeop? Let him think hard about it. After that, Han Pil left. After all, these two are only acting for the good of the Murim. They are nothing like Chaungyeop. The transportation service of the Golden City will no longer be attacked. It was time for him to leave as well. Suddenly, he heard someone else's voice. That Han Pil made him think. Looks like Chaungyeop is really a dangerous guy. Muyong Shinge. What a shame. Those two apologized to the master. These guys were really drinking, with some puppy without even knowing who he was. and they also managed to lose to him. What an embarrassment. Anyway, he did some research on this puppy. Turns out he's the one who revived the Golden City Transportation Service, which was on the verge of collapse. This guy came here as a relative of the Tan family. He took one of the she-men and put one of the she-men to bed. Now this she-men family would definitely not leave him alone. This puppy was instrumental in provoking the Z-men family, and now they have met such an important person. That's not a bad thing either. The man feels that this young man will be of use to them someday. So he suggested that for the time being they observe what would happen next. They sat at the negotiating table. He sincerely apologized for doctoring this Namgung family's holiday with his unpleasant visit. Shimen Dokejo. As they already know, yesterday his nephew was attacked by one of the Golden City transportation guards. This has damaged the family's reputation, and he would like to ask the head of the Namgung family to help restore justice. He had heard that this guard had something to do with the Tan family. Jong-hyun immediately mentioned that the cause of the fight was young Master Shimen, not the guard. It's inappropriate to link the guard and the Tang family here. That's not all. It's said that even the other guard who was with this guy claimed that he had some old scores to settle with his nephew. Doc Joe can't say that his nephew's behavior is impeccable, but what are the odds of him accidentally bumping into the two guards of the Golden City's transportation service who are related to the Tan family? No matter how he tries to look at this situation differently, it looks like a planned event against the Shimen family. In particular, the Wei-chi family is also friends with the Tang family after all. Seeing how he zealously defends them, the old man is now convinced that his suspicions are not groundless. It seems that their son-in-law is involved with some very unpleasant people. Hui Jun asks what he can do as the head of the family. Doc Joe doesn't ask the head of the Namgung family for anything difficult. In the martial arts world, all disputes are settled by a duel. So he just asks for permission to have a duel. The Shimen family wants to take revenge for yesterday's defeat, so they summon the same guard from the Golden City Transportation Service to the duel. Shingi inquired if he was really a servant of the Salt family from the Kamsok. They say that this old man knows everything that happens in the White Way of Murim. Impressive. What did this brat really think that he did not know? What does this Shangguan Jinji know? But it doesn't matter. This time this guy helped him out, so he will think that the old man is repaying his debt to him. Shinge will give him information that he can use. The second son of the Shimen family, Shimen Zhuji, will come after Chaungyeop to avenge what happened yesterday. Don't underestimate him. Zhuji is the master of the technique, the glass sword. Glass sword is a secret technique that makes the sword blades transparent like glass, blinding the opponent. Even if the wielder is not brilliant at swordsmanship, this technique is very insidious and many masters have already died from it. Especially dangerous is the moment when the blade of the glass sword changes direction from horizontal to vertical. The protagonist felt that it was the old man acting as if he was holding him in the palm of his hand and looking down on him from on high. Such favor is unpleasant to him. But he still inquired who this Shangguan Jinji was. In response, Shinji asked what the man had said about him. Shangguan said that he was a man from the shadows who controlled all information, and that he organized this meeting at the Namgung family residence. Then he too will only tell what he thinks he should. Shangguan Jinjie is the head of a secret organization that operates under the emperor's orders, and the yellow dragon dagger he gave to Chaungyeop is proof of that. They are now working together to expose the dark forces that are infiltrating the central lands. And this meeting was called because they received information about a key member of this organization, the honorable head of the Western Celestial Alliance, known as the villain of the Milgyo sect, Kama Rip. He's most likely behind all of this. That's all he can tell him. In that case, if Shinji knows who the main character is, then he probably knows something about the person named Sol Su Bom as well. He can't tell him about it, but one thing he was sure of. That guy is definitely not on the side of good. After that, Shinge left. Has Big Brother gone off the righteous path? The one who was always adamant like a bamboo. If he takes the path of evil with such a character, it would be terrifying. Songyu was happy about this beautiful day. There were so many masters from the martial arts world gathered at his 80th birthday party that he felt as if he had traveled back 50 years. Muchong remarked that he hadn't matured in any way since he was that age, so it was no wonder he had such feelings. He was lucky enough to live to the age of 80, so today he should just turn a blind eye to his antics. The old man suggested having fun. All the guests wished Master Namgung a long life. As the head of the family to us, he wanted to express his sincere gratitude to everyone who came to his father's birthday party today. He thought for a very long time about how to treat the dear guests who had traveled such a long and difficult journey. So he prepared the best wine, food, and music, nearly bankrupting his family. But is it possible to enjoy all this when there are so many martial artists around and not see their skills? But it's not like he can just ask the guests to have a duel. As it happened, he really didn't know what he should do. But there was a way out. The Shimeng family had offered to arrange the duel themselves. The others began to whisper, asking if these selfish people were really capable of something like this. If it wasn't for this Shimen family, he would have challenged this Tang Muchong to a duel himself, and would have ended their unfinished duel from 50 years ago. The Shimen family challenged the Golden City Transportation Guard to a duel, Chaun-yeop. They asked Golden City's transportation guard, Chaun-yeop, and young master Shimen Juji to enter the arena as soon as they were ready. He mentally apologized to the family's son-in-law there. But only in such a public place the Shimen family wouldn't do anything wrong. But this was exactly what he wanted. Han Pil didn't understand what was going on here at all. Mu Yung Shinge had warned as if they would attack at night. It turned out to be quite simple. The old fool had just created a panic. Han Pil tried to stop him as soon as he saw the guy get up from his seat. I guess the Namgung family, who are friends with the Tan family, had intervened. It was nice, but he still doesn't want to be indebted to them. He saw the two girls whispering. This is the same guard who put Shimen Po on his shoulder blades after all. Shimen family must have forced him into this duel to get revenge. But there were also rumors that this guy had also put down 2 thugs from the Gongi family in a drinking match. Looks like he's not a bad guy. The Shimen family might be plotting something against him. The stronger he gets, the more people talk about him. And it's inevitable. Just like Bear said now that the Golden City Transportation Service is connected to the Tang family, gossip will not lead to anything good. It's better to leave right after the Namgung family feast. Shimen Juji, such his brother, is in debt to Chaungyeop. There's no need for gratitude. It's better to save it for later. Soon he'll be in debt to the protagonist himself, just like his brother. This arrogance was beginning to piss him off. The duel began. Juji immediately attacked the protagonist. As soon as Chaungyeop only had to dodge, he saw the very glass sword that the old man had told him about. Of course, he wasn't going to stop there. This guy is really strong. He might not even be inferior to the 3 demons of the Northern Path, but not more than that. After he almost went off the path, it became much easier for him to control the tame Tonapyeong and illusory demon techniques. Therefore, this guy's techniques were not scary to him at all. The man quickly moved from where he was standing in front of the guy, and decided to attack Chaun-yeop from his blind spot to end this once and for all. The others realized that it was quite dangerous. JJ Jung was worried about his brother too. He was even surprised to hear that so many people were worried about him. It seemed like he had gotten himself into too many stories. Surely his older brother was the same way. He felt it too. He can't even wait for the holiday to end. The main character used the bloody butterfly technique. The 4th technique, the spirit of the bloody butterfly. With this technique, he was able to defeat his opponent. Even the members of the Namgung family were shocked by this turn of events. The same can be said for Doc Joe. Now he should leave. Yeoju noticed that the protagonist has really gotten much stronger. And Han Pil noticed that this guy has mastered a new technique. It's a completely new aura, not like the one he felt before. The victory is awarded to guard Chaungyeop. He thanked both sides for the fight and asked everyone to return to their seats. The others, however, were wondering what this magnificent fire sword was. They had never seen such a technique before. In addition, its QE was also unusual. Who would have thought that this guy would have such a crushing victory? It seems like the 3 bands of returning made everyone feel out of place. He thanked the head of the Namgung family for the opportunity to demonstrate his skills. However, the difference in the village was too great, and it was hard to call this battle complete. Shimen's family should train more. It was an obvious provocation that he fell for. He wished them well for the rest of the banquet. After which, the main character left. Yeoju didn't understand at all what young Mr. Chaungyeop was doing right now. However, she was stopped by Han Pil. He is doing this to avoid hurting the head of the transportation service. Therefore, they can't go after that guy. JJ Jung also wanted to follow his brother. However, the man stopped him. Shingo was also watching this. Jung Hyun wondered why the young master was provoking them so rudely. Is it really because of Togo to avoid hurting the people around him? He really is quite a free man. Chaungyeop sat in a tree, pondering the wind today was cold. It's getting colder and colder. Though he doesn't seem to feel the cold as much as he used to. He was approached by Buko, who asked the protagonist what he was doing out here alone like the last poor person. Chaungyeop inquired about the clothes. What on earth is there to eat today? Does he really think she's only doing things at someone else's behest? She just came to watch the banquet. That woman looks just like him. I guess she has nowhere else to go to. Mr. Shang said she was the one who came to his rescue first. Chaungyeop didn't have time to thank her then. Even though he was late, he thanked her for saving him. They had gotten help from this guy too after all, so it was okay. But still, the protagonist was curious to know why she had come here. Buko had said that she had just come to watch the banquet. He decided to change the subject and asked what her name really was. If she really came to watch the banquet, she was on vacation now, and it wouldn't be a good idea to call her by her nickname Buko. And if she doesn't have another name, he wanted to change her mind to a new one. Chaungyeop wondered what she thought of the Bukmi. She had been using her nickname for a long time after all, and it had become part of her personality. Since he wanted to call her that, she was fine with it. But still, the girl was worried if everything would be all right. He had ended the fight on such a note after all. Chaun-yeop had been searching for one person for a long time, and it was time for him to go searching again. They had met out of necessity, so it would be best if he just left. The guy was just about to leave when he suddenly heard Seal Soo-young's name. Chaun-yeop asked if she knew something about Soo-young. There's a place called Divine Gate. She used to live there herself. It's a place where homeless women gather to learn martial arts and sciences. Mr. Shang thinks she's there now. The Divine Gate has no permanent home, but it's winter. They have to stay somewhere to survive the cold weather. So it's possible to find them. He immediately thanked and wanted to go looking for them. It may not have been long, but here he saw the world. He met intelligent people and learned martial arts. And he even found a soulmate. If he met Soo-young, they would definitely have something to talk about. The Namgung family's large gathering hall. He thanked everyone who took the time to come, despite his own busyness. He decided to get straight to the point. The head beggar will tell Mu-yeon Shinge about the situation. Where is Mu-yeon Shinge himself? He was actually here. Since everyone is all gathered, then they can begin then. Because they had wasted a lot of time and lost many brothers, they had managed to partially uncover the conspiracy and the extent of the dark forces that were trying to infiltrate the Central Lands. The name of this organization is the Western Celestial Alliance. At the forefront of this alliance is a new school from Gansu called the Heavenly Dragon Gate. They may be using this school to build up their influence within the Murim Alliance. The structure of this alliance is as follows. The villain of the Milgyo sect, Ka-ma-reap. He is also the honorary head, and his eldest disciple holds the position of head. There are 4 squads standing up. The Azure Dragon, the White Tiger, the Red Bird, and the Black Turtle. They are all disciples of Ka-ma-reap. Of the 4 squad leaders, they only know the name of the Black Turtle squad leader, Yayul Sang-an. He is the son of the head of the Western Celestial Alliance and the last disciple personally trained by Ka-ma-reap. The martial arts world is on the brink of destruction. At the same time, they were too blind, but it was better late to notice it than never. Now they must do something about it. Shinji tells them about one of the plans. Decades ago, the previous generation of masters, fearing the Milgyo sect, hid something in 3 jade Buddha statues. 2 of the statues have already been discovered, but one is still missing. He can't tell them about the jade statues now. They will know everything when the 3 statues are gathered, and the head of the alliance announces it. Another problem is the strongest martial artist, the 4 heroes, and the 2 strongest master, the true demonic swordsman. Their existence is a big obstacle for the Western Heaven Alliance. They didn't dare to act until now because they weren't sure if they could deal with them. But now, they have started to act more actively. This could mean that the Great War would soon begin. It's worth assuming that they have already infiltrated the Heavenly Demon Fortress. They probably want to sow discord in the Heavenly Demon Fortress. That would be the biggest threat to the martial arts world of the Central Lands. But why doesn't the true demon swordsman do anything about it? They too have noticed some oddities in the Heavenly Demon Fortress. The true demon swordsman is secretly training a disciple. In fact, she thought that he hated training disciples. But what old master wouldn't want to take on an apprentice? He probably needed him now more than ever. The demon sect's greatest technique, Sura Huang Kyung, is very difficult to master. If he passes it on to an unworthy disciple, he could be killed by his enemies. And no one would even know about it. One can understand the thoughts of this genius. But one thing is certain. The martial arts world will soon be in a great chaos. Heavenly Demon Fortress. Mingran found this place too stuffy. She was cozy here before. But now the Heavenly Demon Fortress seems like a prison that is full of intrigue and tension. She can't get rid of this feeling ever since her grandfather cruelly rejected the person he was so kind to for a few days. It was then that she realized that the Celestial Demon's Fortress was just a fortress in which they were hiding from danger. Choosing, she decided that she would act on her own to protect the heavenly demon fortress without relying on anyone else's help. However, she still didn't understand why such an honest and talented young man was rejected. Could it be that this was the weakness of the heavenly demon fortress? The two of them had certainly noticed that Min Ran had hardened after kicking out that guy called Su Bom. She seemed to have become disillusioned with the demon's ways. By order of the fortress master, an emergency meeting is declared. All the elders of the heavenly demon fortress must gather immediately. The surroundings of the heavenly demon fortress. Mount Songgam-san. Of course, the master of the fortress has his own reasons. But why would they patrol this mountain so persistently? In any case, they further this task at a time like this when the fortress guards are reinforced, so it must be something important. True tensed up when they heard footsteps. It was Su Bom. They immediately recognized this guy and asked how he dared to come back. Did he want revenge? He wants to see the master of the fortress. The guys felt that there was a dangerous aura coming from him. Therefore, they immediately decided to attack. To do so, they used the formation of two. Su Bom used Huang Sura, Sura's cold shadow step. They immediately recognized the movement technique from Huang Sura. How could he even possess this technique? The species only the master of the fortress can use it. It really is similar to the master's technique. Su Bom was worried that he couldn't master Sura Huang properly, but their words calmed him down. He needed to talk to the fortress master about something important, so he told these two to guide him. Min Hyuk was happy to see all of them. They must have been surprised by the sudden summoning of the council. He had gathered everyone here to discuss an important matter regarding the heavenly demon fortress. They know that Min Hyuk took this position because of the Huang Sura. He was instructed by his teacher, but this technique is so powerful that he could not claim to have fully mastered it. Therefore, he couldn't find a worthy disciple to whom he could pass on this knowledge. That was why he still did not have a receiver. However, he has kept it a secret until now. But he has a plan. It's Un Ryong and Poon Ryong. 10 years ago, he started teaching them the Huang Sura by dividing the technique into two parts. And today, he wants to officially recognize them as his disciples and teach them everything he knows. He congratulated the master of the fortress. What a long time they had waited for this. It's a blessing to hear such news. Now they can really calm down. If the Huang Sura is passed down to the next generation, the heavenly demon fortress will become the strongest in the martial arts world. Elder Yan Hua's son, the eldest member of the heavenly demon fortress. He realized that the master of the fortress had something on his mind. This cunning snake, who had pretended for decades that he was only interested in chess, felt that there were rats in the heavenly demon fortress. So why is he announcing who will be studying Sura Huang? It was night. It was to be expected that they would immediately let him through, as soon as he demonstrated his abilities. The fortress master knew that Su Bom would return and prepared for it. Min Hyuk immediately greeted him through telepathy. Su Bom also greeted the fortress master through this method. Un Ryong and Poon Ryong told him about this guy's progress. They said that he was perfectly mastering the Huang Sura. He apologized for meeting this guy in this way. He probably doesn't know, but there are rats in the heavenly demon's fortress right now. He wanted to hide Su Bom from them. Un Ryong and Poon Ryong will be his cover. While Su Bom is hiding, he has a mission to accomplish. It might be the beginning of his revenge. Min Hyuk already knew that Su Bom was coming and why he came to the heavenly demon fortress. Perhaps he knows a young man named Chaun-yeop. Besides Su Bom, there is another person who is looking for those behind the heavenly dragon gate. This is Chaun-yeop. Gladly, he amazes everyone with his incredible skill. Unlike that guy, Su Bom has to hide and fight the threat that it hangs over the world with Min Hyuk. In fact, he also has a case that he definitely has to do well. He'll do anything to become stronger. And he's willing to do it, even if he has to take the path of a demon. Namgung family residence. Muyeon Shinge called out to Han Pil. Chaungyeop is about to become a target of the Western Celestial Alliance. To catch this guy, they will have to involve at least one of the 4 Alliance squad leaders. Han Pil should focus on finding the last Jade Buddha statue. The clashes between this guy and the Western Celestial Alliance is a good opportunity to assess their strength. He must watch them closely until the very end. Han Pil will do that. Yeoju was worried about the young master. It's snowing. Where will he go in this weather? Gyo Young tried to cheer up her sister by talking about how he won't be lost. After all, Chaungyeop isn't that kind of person. In fact, she herself didn't think he would just leave without saying anything. Didn't even leave a note. What a heartless guy. The older brother seemed to be asking around too. Maybe he knows where Chaungyeop is now. Since these guys are leaving, Tang Yuhua and Jaejong came to see them off. She thanked them for everything. Yeoju replied that they were the ones who really should be thanking them. She heard that the young master had left. That guy saved her life, and she didn't even have time to thank him properly. That's really his style. Brother always did everything by himself, so they can only hope that they will meet again. It was even a pity. There are so many people worried about young master. It seems he will never understand the life of noble men. And at night, there was a chase. The target was Chaungyeop. It's been 10 days. They are still the same number. He must have killed 50 people. How could they find him so quickly? He's been hiding for half a day. Chaungyeop used the blood butterfly technique. The first technique, the blood butterfly dance. Suddenly, he was also attacked by someone. Do-young, demonic jade flute melody. Bok Sontak, poison whip of 9 bends. Since these guys are here, they want to finish off Chaungyeop. Do-young used his flute, and he had to defend himself against that tune. There's a huge mark left behind. They say this guy is very smart and agile. There was already a weapon over the old man, when suddenly he was defended by his son like that. The poison whip was actually moving on the same trajectory as Chaun-yeop's sword. However, it was much heavier. It was better to dodge than to block. But there was already nowhere for him to run. But even in this situation, he found a way out. And at the same moment, the old man also made himself known. There was a small explosion. Chaungyeop was still alive. That's even more impressive. He was able to withstand a sonic attack in such a situation. The stalker techniques, that demon's sonic attack, and the yellow darts. They all use completely different styles. If the Chaun reacts to each attack separately like just now, they will drive me into a corner. The only way to defeat them is to use all my inner strength to accumulate the grace of Tame Tonabgyeong. Yomsol B was a foolish old man. After all, he decided to catch a guy like that by himself, and he'd asked for it himself. They'll see who wins in this situation. Bloody butterfly technique. Fourth technique, bloody butterfly spirit. Thanks to that, he broke the flute and the poison whip. These guys aren't any better either. He blocked his acupuncture points using the first level illusory demonic technique, but his entire body couldn't withstand it. If he had just a little time to regain his breath, perhaps the outcome would have been different. Salvation followed right behind his thoughts. He clearly hadn't expected to see a familiar person here, especially the one he had been looking for so long. It was Su-young. Su-young replied that they would talk later, but right now they should get out of here. After which, she handed him a pill. The attackers certainly didn't want to let them go so easily. Su-young told him to hurry up. The girl used the white crane technique. Because he ate the pill, he was able to use the blood butterfly technique. The first technique, the blood butterfly dance. After that, the two of them decided to escape. She put up a barrier, and that will give them some time. It's only a temporary measure, but he needs to recover his strength at least a little. Chaungyeop immediately asked if it was really Madame Su-young. Whether it's not a dream. Su-young noticed that he had grown up a lot. Even more than she could have imagined. She missed Chaungyeop a lot too. Thanks to the medicinal pills, he had recovered a little. Now we have to figure out how to get rid of them. Su-young asked if he could go. Chaungyeop replied that all of this only happened because of her. She had defeated the strong opponents, so they would soon go a-bank. The guy knew very well who was coming next. That's why he asked Miss Su-young to leave. When he shows up, they'll rush after him. Then she will be able to get out of the trap. Chaun-yeop will be the bait. He's not going to help the Murim Alliance or the Emperor anyway. The guy has to deal with them himself. She knew where Chaungyeop was, so she will be able to guess where her older brother is. So Su-yeon has to find him. And then the protagonist will find both of them. They hugged each other. Su-yeon waited for him for 3 years, waiting for Chaungyeop's name to be known. She waited so long for them to meet. And now they were here. He didn't even expect them to set a trap in a place like this. He had to sweat to find them. Now it was all over for them. Suddenly he felt a strong aura. He quickly had to get rid of several people. The man managed to put it up, a shield against Chaun-yeop's strikes. This opponent is also quite strong. Jade rings flew at him. He managed to fend them off with his weapon. The rings returned to his hand. The two finally met. Everyone welcomed the newcomer. Sometimes fate throws such surprises. It was Yayul Sa'an. Of course he knew Seol Su-yeon by sight. And that same Chaungyeop. It was as if those two had come to meet him on purpose. The protagonist naturally recognized who was standing in front of them right now, so he told Su-young to leave. She's smart enough to realize what needs to be done. In fact, she can sense that powerful aura too. Chaungyeop will have a hard time fighting this guy while protecting her too. The best thing she can do is to leave Chaungyeop and run away. As if sensing her worries, the protagonist reassured him, saying that he would definitely find her wherever she was. Su-young had no choice but to run away. The subordinates already wanted to follow her, but Sanan said to let Su-young go. They would catch up with her in half an hour, even if Chaungyeop didn't bother them. He had actually been waiting for this meeting for a very long time, so he wanted to talk quietly. He had managed to hold on to 10 days of her in the Western Celestial Alliance network. Therefore, let him stick to it for a little longer. When Chaun-yeop falls, then Seol Su-young would even give up. Ever since she left the Heavenly Maiden Gate, then she has been pursued. There must be someone to contact, so that Chaungyeop can leave after the battle. She has already been caught up by one person. Fortunately, Dongho arrived to her defense. After that, the other two dealt with that person. Dongho said he would protect her. She is familiar with the young master, after all. Chaungyeop asked to help whoever is by his side to escape. Seol Su-young is a person that even the imperial court must protect. Therefore, she must follow them. At the same time, Sanan attacked Chaun-yeop. The man heard that until he was 14 years old, the protagonist didn't study in martial arts at all. But he was able to reach such a level in just 3 years. That's impressive. Chaun-yeop attacked him with his weapon, but Sanan managed to defend himself against it. He had always wondered how many people besides his teacher, Rip, and the second strongest martial artist could scratch that bracelet. Therefore, it was interesting to see what this guy was capable of. At this moment, Buko appeared between them. Chaungyeop didn't expect to see her here at all. Even in a situation like this, there are people who are willing to help him. He is definitely a lucky guy. Buko managed to defend herself from that lunge. Just as Chaungyeop wanted to attack, he was immediately overtaken by those jade rings. I should be more careful. Sa'an withdrew his men for Chaungyeop's sake, so he might as well show more respect for this fight. If he doesn't defeat him, the outcome will still be the same. His end will be the same as that old man who remembered Chaungyeop. That man talks too much. Chaungyeop will find out what he did to the old man Huang. There, since he wants to see it so badly, the main character was ready to show him. He'll unleash all the inner strength he's accumulated with the tame Tanapgyong, and instantly link it with the illusory demonic technique. His entire body was strained to the limit, and as if it would explode in an instant. The blood butterfly technique, the fifth technique, blood butterfly lightning. This attack was aimed directly at Sa'an. Everyone present froze to see the aftermath of this battle. However, there was nothing wrong with him. This guy not only scratched his bracelet, but also made his body bleed. Let him keep it up and show what he was really capable of. Chaungyeop and Sa'an were busy with another battle. In fact, this sudden attack even crazily pleased him. Chaun-yeop was undoubtedly an outstanding warrior. Few living masters would be able to withstand such a blow. Unfortunately, this guy is still a long way away from Sa'an. What a pity. Who knows what would have happened in 5 years. The truth was that things didn't go according to plan in this world. He even had the pleasure of meeting him. After which, Sa'an said goodbye to the protagonist. The man shouted to his men to all take cover. It was a devastating attack. But as it turned out, the protagonist managed to escape. Sa'an ordered Ham Jin-gyu to chase after Seol Su-young, and he will deal with this guy with his own hands. Chaungyeop waited for the men to use their secret technique to hide. He really doesn't like it when Sa'an is tricked around. He managed to bring Buko with him. We need to hold out a little longer. The protagonist heard the sound of water. He passed through here on his way to Henan. Everything happened just as he thought it would. Next, there was a boat. They quickly jumped onto the boat. Buko asked that the young master should hurry up and set sail, but he stopped. Chaun-yeop turned back and heard the question of what he would do now. Sa'an has been taking all sorts of miraculous elixirs since birth to become a strong warrior. This is an advantage that is hard to overcome. But Chaun-yeop, who had such a short training, made Sa'an bleed and scratched his bracelet. He can't believe that an ordinary orphan servant can do such a thing. On top of that, the guy also noticed that there was a very strange energy in that sudden attack. Where did he get that kind of power from? If Chaun-yeop told him, then maybe he would consider sparing him. Chaun-yeop apologized, however, he doesn't know. And even if he did know, he doesn't have time to explain it all. There was an old man who granted him this power. Therefore, he must follow that old man's example and survive as well. He had to fight off Sa'an's attacks. He is really curious to know who that old man is. These attacks kept coming. He was even helped by Buko. Because of that, she was injured. Chaun-yeop lived in this world as it was, between those who tried to understand him and those who just watched. Even if those who understand him are very few. This sword technique is his cunning. It is also that he can live his life with his head held high with pride. This is not something that can be achieved by sacrificing or using others like Sa'an does. These are the very 4 heroes that Master spoke of. The aura of the strongest martial artist. I can see why he felt this energy. He didn't even think about sparing him anymore. After which, there was an explosion. Balsi and Yumtae were walking along the shore. Here they noticed a boat in which someone seemed to be lying in. Who could even be in such a place? Only then did they notice the same young man they had seen at the Namgung family's residence. They looked amongst themselves before running straight towards the boat. It was only to be hoped that he would be able to wake up after such a powerful attack along with Buko.